Hey everybody.
Why is it so creepy?
Today we will be reading A Bleeding Harvest.
We haven't even done the
Bleeding
intros.
Festival.
Try again.
Hey everybody.
Welcome to the Mesoscale podcast. It's your host, AL.
And CW.
C dubs. C dubs. C dubs.
It's me.
It's you. Ow!
Announcements.
Announcement.
Are you tired of being tired? Have you been sick of all the same old shitty energy drinks? Well, do I have a treat for you. Right now on Dubby Energy, you can use code MESO10 for 10% off your next purchase. In this economy, we need all the help we can get. That is dubbyenergy.com. Merch! Ever get sick of your same old shitty fashion choice? Lucky for you, that's all about to change. Head over to https:///merch.myspreadshop.com or stab the link below with your clicking mouse.
Hear ye, upon this day, the 2nd of August in our year 2026, A.L. Meticulous Anxiety and I have discussed a proposed writing contest. This contest will proceed from August 2nd to August 26th. Winner will be announced on August 30th. The prompt is,
Oh no, we've been scaled.
This contest is open to any and all horror types and must be submitted by August 26th. The rules. Submitted by, of course, August 26th. Author must be subscribed to the podcast anywhere they listen. Author must use the submission flare when posting to our Reddit. Author must cast their vote on a different story. And you must comment under this post on our Reddit that you've submitted a story. Now for the best part. The winner, first place, will earn a Mesoscale t-shirt, which will be autographed. Their story shall be read, and the story of their choice, their own or someone else's, will be on their own episode. They will receive the coveted Top Scaler Award, and, of course, receive mad props in the community. Second place will receive a Mesoscale hat, also autographed. Their story will be put in a future episode, and they will receive the coveted second place award. Third place will receive Mesoscale pins, also autographed, and the coveted third place award. Good luck to those who all enter. We look forward to reading your stories.
Okay. Today we will be reading A Bleeding Harvest, A Bleeding Festival by Lovecraftlukerichie.
Part 1. Who knows if there's going to be more?
Question mark.
Just so you guys know.
Part 1 question mark.
Lovecraftlukerichie is a up-and-coming artist.
Hell yeah.
Author.
Hell yeah.
So they only have the Lovecraftlukerichie. So we're excited to read A Bleeding Harvest. It is unfinished, but supposedly there is a cliffhanger.
Supposedly.
You ready?
Yeah.
A Bleeding Harvest. A Bleeding Festival. By
Lovecraftlukerichie.
Halloween was always your favorite holiday. It's in autumn, which is your favorite season. As a child, you love the costumes and candy, and as an adult, those still bring you happy nostalgia. The burdens of life have beaten you down and left you a husk of that joyful child, a man who simply is. You partake in the rat race of life, productive employee, and worthwhile friend to those you know. Yet in this, you feel unfulfilled, unsatisfied, uninterested in your daily life. You take great joy in the sojourns of holidays, not out of particular devoutness to the holy, but rather to the celebration of anything unordinary. The reason for celebration, the holy of the day, slips your mind as you devour feast and partake in festival.
Yeah.
You adore it, the utter gluttony of your soul let loose upon food and drink. Your animalistic urges brought to the forefront by the persuasion of drunkenness. Of course, this is only natural. Man's natural instinct is to delight to an excess. I apologize. I get ahead of myself. None of this crosses your conscience or even your subconscious. I speak of your instincts and forget your story. Your favorite part of Halloween is the vestige of pagan origin.
The vestige of a pagan origin.
Thanks. The Harvest Festival. A carnival of the season, a celebration of success.
Again, this year we shall not starve, but eat.
The sentiment has lessened in recent times. You take for granted there will be a surplus of food or other necessities. You do not worship the gods of harvest with a fear of famine. You celebrate using an excuse possible. You are not alone, many of your people do. If those gods lived and watched, they would certainly rage on your flippant disregard. The gods of old are dead, luckily, and you can blaspheme their holy days all you wish. Candied apples, plastic pumpkins, false corn, and consumed children. Costumed, not consumed.
Whoa.
Sorry. Costumed children all litter this field as you partake in festivities. A mobile Ferris wheel, carousels, and even a short coaster are among the sources of joyful shouts filling the night air. Your friends drag you onto the rides, laughing and joking all the while. You find these all enjoyable, but as the night drags on, you are tired of the socializing and the constant entertainment. You move away from the more overstated festivities. You make your way to your true desire, your absolute favorite tradition, almost ritualistically. I got it. Did it.
Nice.
You enter the corn maze.
The corn.
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 Most overlooked maze. It's
Go
a
ahead.
novelty seemingly. They navigate the halls of grain once and novelty wears off. Very few enjoy the simple satisfaction of finding their way through the series of turns and dead ends. You are among that few. The small traditions are important to you, in some ways more important than the large ones. Every year, just before midnight, you find your way to the center of the maze. Sit in the peaceful quiet and watch the moon. Distant voices are drowned out by the droning of crickets. Cicadas.
Cicadas?
Oh. Is that how you say that?
Mm-hmm.
I learned what those were when we lived in New Mexico.
Ah!
I've never heard of those before.
That's how they sound.
Bullfrogs and night birds. As you round the corner, you find the central clearing, a square cut just slightly wider than the passages of the maze, expecting the same stone bench and the humorous attempts of spooky decorations that you see every year. You are confused to find a stone slab, roughly half your height and much wider. You stand puzzled. In your decades of coming to the Harvest Festival, you have never seen this decoration. Almost the same stone bench is wheeled out into the center of the field. You are irritated. Your personal little tradition are casual of this strange change in decorations. No, not a casualty. You walk towards the slab, as even though it is but a small tradition, it matters to you. You lie down on the slab. You place your hands behind your head and cross your legs, attempting to lie comfortably on a solid stone. A fortunate coincidence is that you are facing directly upwards, so you have no need to crane your neck watching the moon and the stars. They really are beautiful. This far out from any large populace, you will see countless speckles of light. You are lost in their majestic beauty, so lost you don't recognize the silence getting louder. One by one, the creatures of the field and woods grow quiet. First the birds cease their night calls, followed by the frogs, then even the insects grow still. When the silence is utter and definite, you are jolting out of your meditation. It is an unnatural silence, a foreboding silence. You stand up tall on the slab, trying to see the rest of the carnival, but all you can see is darkness. The spotlight showing the way through the maze has gone out, as well as seemingly the entire carnival. You hear no screams, no commotion. Your panic keeps rising. It is a full moon and a clear night, so you still have some limited visibility. You see the vague outlines of what is possibly the Ferris wheel and coaster, although those could also just be trees. You spin in a circle and cannot discern anything properly in the darkness. As you are searching, the darkness grows. Over the tree line, stars begin to blink out, and possibility to be sure, but they are indeed begin to fade and die. You watch in dumbfounded awe as every little beautiful speck of light dies, one by one, until all that is left is the moon, you in a sea of darkness, the one shining symbol of hope in the sky. Then the moon grows dim and it dies too. You are left in a perfect darkness. An indiscernible amount of time passes as you sit in a partial sensory deprivation. You can still feel, although there's little to feel. There's a stone slab and a corn surrounding you. An indescribable dread fills you when you determine that there's no longer an opening in the corn. You are fully surrounded and closed in. You can try running through the field, but where would that get you? You reach an absurd conclusion, a state of denial. You are sure this is some elaborate prank, some reality prank show that selected your maze at random for their Halloween special, but unfortunately you are to be wrong. The moon comes back to life. Slowly, the world around you begins to light up. However, it is not the light you expect. As you look into the sky, you can see a small spot of red, blood red. As you watch, the spot grows. It spreads slowly, just as the moon and stars grow dim slowly. It grows the size of the moon and does not stop. Slowly, the whole sky is covered in a blood-red light. It is dim. You can see directly upward without blinding yourself. The world around you is colored shades of red and black. There's red where light reaches and blackness in the shadows. You realize that while you are watching the sky, an opening returned to the corn. You leave the clearing at the center of the maze and journey in the corridors. Every step you take crunches a husk on the ground, a violent sound in the otherwise deafening silence behind you. You stop every few seconds and listen. There isn't so much as a breeze blowing through the corn. The only noise is coming from you. You creep through the turns and find dead ends after dead end. The desperation is getting to you, tears streaming freely down your face. You whimper, but every noise that leaves your mouth makes you jump. Paranoia. You are certain something stands in the corn, watching. Every hair on your body stands, your blood runs cold despite your heart's rapid beating, but you continue onward. A brave soul you are, eventually you come to an exit. Elation overtakes you and you break into a dead sprint. May your stalker be damned, you are getting out of this corn. As you break into the clearing outside the maze, you see it is a festival just as you left, now only abandoned. Your joy flees from you and dread once again holds your soul tightly. You walk through empty stalls, carnival games stand half played. A large plush prize sitting on the counter next to a set of knocked over bottles. The Ferris wheel sits still, as does the carousel. The coaster rests atop a peak, unmoving. You walk desperately, searching for any sign of life, any sign of normalcy. You find neither. You walk towards the parking lot aimlessly, wandering in the direction of your car. Maybe it can offer you freedom. The rows of spots, loosely marked by strings tied to sticks, remain full. No one left the festival, not in their cars. Your mind is not racing. You are in a paradoxical calm. You ask yourself questions that you don't want answers for.
Aliens? The rapture? Hallucinations?
You pull your keys out of your pocket and reach to unlock your car, and a twig breaks to your right. Your eyes jerk to the tree line, scanning every detail of the red and black landscape, looking for what just moved. You hear your heartbeat throb in your ears, your vision blurry around the edges. You see no movement. And after agonizing moments of staring at the static trees, you turn to get into your car. When you turn back to your car, it is rusted and broken corpse. All other cars in the lot are gone. The carnival is gone, and you stand alone in the woods. From the silence, you hear more twigs snapping, quiet, but growing louder, and faster, closing in.
And that was A Bleeding Harvest, A Bleeding Festival by Lovecraftlukerichie.
How do you feel?
I enjoyed it a lot.
How do you feel it being in... Is this third person?
Second person.
Second person.
Yeah, no, I love second person stuff. I wish there was more of it.
How do you like that?
I like it because it leaves... It makes...
You feel
the
like
author...
you're into it?
Well, no, it makes the author force the reader to have a certain point of view.
Correct.
Right? Where, like, third person and first person, it's kind of like...
Oh, because if it was third person, it'd be like, she did this.
Yeah.
He did this.
First person is
I. So second person is you, right?
Yeah, and I really like it. It's kind of a choose your own adventure sort of feel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like it. And I also really like stories that take place, like horror stories that take place during Halloween.
If it's done right.
Yes, because there are...
This one I feel like they did pretty good.
I agree.
I like the second person because it feels like you're immersed into the story versus some of the like first or third persons.
Yes.
And I like that.
I totally agree. Totally agree. I think there's a lot to be said about it. It's just one of those things where it's like, it drags you further into it. Even if you're not into it in the beginning.
Yeah.
Like, you could jump in the middle and still be drug in. So I really enjoyed it. What would you rate it?
I would rate this probably a high 4 because it's not complete yet.
I see you like complete. I would say 5 because I have no notes. It was really fun. It was a fun, joyful read. It's kind of took you in the expected direction. So there was like, the twists and turns were fun and earned.
I get that. No, I was going to say 5, but then I was like, technically it's not finished yet. So I feel like I'm missing something. So that's why I want to give it a 4. But really, I have no notes on it. I really enjoyed the second point of view, though.
Yes.
Second person, I guess. Because it really made me immersed into the story. So it was fun to kind of read about that. I like that. Well done.
Yep, I agree.
Lukerichie.
Well
done.
I had a lot of fun. Lots of fun.
Moving forward,
we have Beware the Lights on Angler Road.
Isn't angler a fish?
It's a fisher.
Oh, it's a fisher, not a fish?
A
But what's the... I thought there's an angler fish that has, like, the big light on them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Lanternfish.
But aren't they, like, super small?
Yeah, they're itty bitty.
Yeah, I thought they were huge because all the videos make them look big. But they're... Anyways. Well, who's this by?
This is by Christian. Ooh.
We have no last name.
This is the spookiest username we've read.
This guy, he emailed us.
Forever ago.
I know, I'm sorry, Christian. But hey, we are doing it. But...
Christian.
Christian. Oh, he also... Fun fact, is a co-host of the Systematic Geekology podcast.
Yeah, link for that
Will be down below.
https://podcasts.apple.com/us/systematic-geekology /ID 158758937.
Thank you. He also
That's
said
HTTP.
I'm gonna cut you off right now. He also said that we can critique it as we feel.
I love you, Christian.
You're not gonna break my heart with valid criticism.
Oh.
So you better give good criticism.
This guy is already a G.
He is a G. Thanks for being so patient with us.
I feel bad because like some of the episodes we release and the people get super defensive.
No, actually, we've had a really good audience. What are you talking about?
No,
I'll stand up for the Meso Squad.
No, I know, but like I feel bad because whenever we give bad reviews or
no, because we tell them to comment down below and give us why.
I know.
They wrote it.
I just feel bad. It makes me sad.
I know it does hurt my heart, but listen, would you rather us lie or would you rather us give us feedback?
I'd almost rather us lie.
No, because we're not critiquing them to get them to stop writing. We're critiquing them so they can become a better writer. And again, I'm going to put a PSA out there. We're just putting out our own opinions.
Yeah.
Remember, it's not like they can take our opinions or drop them at the door.
Yeah. Okay. You ready?
No, I'm defending.
Yeah, I know.
Do you feel my defense?
Yeah, let's get this.
Anyone want to have a debate with me?
A debate?
Yeah.
Debate.
We're not having one. All right. Beware of the lights on Angler Road.
Hey, that's me. That's my
by
thing.
Christian.
That's my thing. Beware the lights on Angler Road by Christian.
Hold on. Beware of the lights on Angler Road by Christian.
No,
how you sounded like.
You gotta make it sound like a 1950s.
I did. I literally copied you.
No,
I literally copied you.
Oh, that was a terrible mimic.
Show me how you make me. Yeah, you can't say shit. Beware of the lights on Angler Road by Christian.
By Christian.
Is that better?
Yeah, much better.
Thank you. Okay.
But I need a little bit more punchy.
Nah, it's
like
fine.
You gotta project your voice. Beware the lights on Angler Road.
You know, at least I narrate.
Yeah, alright. Moving forward. Alright. Oh, I get to start this one off.
Wait, yeah. Of course.
Yeah, this is going to be by far the longest story we've read on this podcast. So.
But this is going to be good.
Christian.
Watch it only be like 30 minutes.
It would be kind of funny.
It's 17,000 words.
Yeah, this is the length of a novella.
That's sweet. All right, let's go. Beware of the light on Angler Road by Christian.
Okay.
Trigger warning. This episode contains sensitive topics including child neglect, the death of a child, domestic abuse, alcoholism, infidelity, abortion, and prostitution. Please take care while listening, and remember it's always okay to pause or step away if any of these subjects may be difficult for you.
Better? You're going the wrong way.
A pleasant and judgmental voice said from behind me. The voice had come from a tall, white man with dirty brown hair cut before it could hit his neck, and who had hazel eyes and a cheery customer service smile on his face. He looked to be no more than in his late 30s and was dressed in the green and gold uniform. Why did I feel like I said that weird?
I don't know.
Of the gas station. I stopped in to get my bearings with a name tag emblazoned with the phrase,
"I serve you,"
as well as his name,
Nathan.
I hated him on sight.
Excuse me?
I said, growling as I adjusted the road map in my hands.
Fuck, hold on, sorry. Excuse me. Because he's growling. Excuse me.
I said, growling as I adjusted the road map in my hands.
You're wanting to head north, right?
He asked and then pointed on the map.
That's us right here. I saw you hovering your fingers over the interstate. No idea why you got off of... No idea why you got off of it.
You know what's so funny? You
What?
said it correctly the first time.
Did I? I was like, I'm tripping.
I narrowed my eyes, wondering why he thought it was his business to correct me.
I'm trying to get back to Interstate 95. Need to get back home to the res.
Oof. Oh, I verbally said oof. Verbally. That's a...
Looks like this guy is losing points as we go.
Yeah, he's already... I already don't like the gas station clerk. It's alright.
Tim?
It's okay. Oof! Then you're really off the beaten path. You're practically halfway to Medford, headed in the opposite direction. What made you get so far off course? Oh my god. What made you get so...
Do you want this to start over?
No, it's fine. It's fine. What made you get so far off course? Bunch of black
dogs jumped in front of my truck. Mistook my exit and went off the wrong one. When I saw more of them headed my way.
Strange things happening these days, for sure, with the new millennium on the way.
I measured his response and didn't know how to take it. I'd actually told him the truth just to mess with him, but he'd swatted all off just for the sake of helping me out.
That is kind of cool.
It seemed. Weird guy. Not as weird as being attacked by a sudden scourge of black dogs all at once, though. They'd scared me to hell and back, those devil dogs, straying by the look of them.
I'm rubbing off on you.
Mangy and malnourished, but sticking together to a... What? Hold on.
Okay. Breathe. Red leather, yellow leather. Red leather, yellow leather. Red leather, yellow leather.
Mangy and malnourished, but sticking together to a pack. I had no idea why they thought jumping me in a truck on an interstate was a good idea, but I just barely managed to get away from them when I realized I was far off course. Worse still, my windows had been open because my AC had been down for the past 5 years. So when a sudden gust of wind came by and swooped my road map from me, I realized I needed a replacement and had been minding my own business when this Yankee yokel had dared to interrupt my thoughts. He was right about going the wrong way, but I didn't want to admit that. I'd gotten on the wrong road somewhere down the way and ended up on a path I'd never been on before. If I'd been smarter, I'd had recognized that I'd lost my way from the moment I took that exit. But panic had overtaken me. I'd been shaking and gasping for breath, and before I knew it, I was miles off course. The gas station had been the only sign of civilization I'd seen for 5 miles after I calmed down. Now I need to get my bearings back, which reminded me of the days my squad mates had used GPS to get around while we were on deployment in Korea. I'd served in the military, so I knew what a GPS was, but since I was a civilian now that I was dishonorably discharged from the service, I would never have the ability to use it again. So I was stuck with maps like everyone else. Wouldn't trust any newfangled tech anyways. What? With Y2K coming up in a couple months. Supposed to be the end of the world. I'd welcome it. Maybe if it happened before I went back home, I wouldn't have to prostrate myself on the ground before my wife and beg... What?
And beg forgiveness.
And beg forgiveness for what I've done.
Now, which reservation were you trying to go back to?
Nathan asked, making me look towards him again.
Oh, God. That's a big word. And I'm gonna brutalize this.
Passamaquoddy.
Well, we gotta apologize before we read it.
I know you did, and then I said
I'm gonna gringify this, and I apologize to any native out there that is of this tribe. Forgive me. It's the Passamaquoddy res.
I feel like you said that pretty good.
Then you just need to turn around and head east. You'll make it there easy enough. Penobscot?
I offered.
Easy enough to fix too. Same thing. But when you see signs for 95 again, you just head north. You seem to know a lot about the reses.
Sure do. I study everything in Maine, from animals, legends, politics, religion, roads, and people. Helps to know these things to help people out in my line of work. Lots of people get lost, but it's easier to get back to where you need to go if there's someone around who you're willing to listen to when they're trying to help you out. Besides, you don't want that map. It's the only one of its kind here. The better ones were right next to it, because they'll take you where you need to go.
I raise an eyebrow.
Don't take this the wrong way, white boy. But given personal history, a man's gotta ask, what's in it for you? To make sure he ain't gonna get lynched for being an Indian.
He seemed confused by the sentiment I'd expressed.
I was given to believe that Native American was the preferred term now. And also, I'm not just white, I actually have Jewish and Arabic roots alongside the English, Scotch, Irish, German parts.
I sighed at him missing the point of my query. I've never really known what to call myself. I'm told by people I barely wish to talk to back on the res that we're supposed to be the First Nations now. Whatever that means. Supposedly the Canucks came up with it to describe the people in their reservation. So, to hell with them. I may be a bastard, but I am an American bastard. Anyways, I suppose I'm very defaulted to Indian because I suppose I've always defaulted to Indian because that's what I saw in the movies growing up, where I'd watch them with my daddy as we cheered John Wayne or Clint Eastwood as they shot the Indians down. They were no kin of mine, so why would I care what happened to them? It's not like I cared much about my kin either. I winced. No, that wasn't true anymore. I was going to make things better.
You all right, buddy?
Nathan asked, bringing me back to reality.
Yes.
I lied, grumbling and tired of his nonsense.
I'm gonna leave now.
You're welcome, sir.
I turned away and didn't honor him with a thank you. I'd have figured it out soon enough. Didn't need another liberal white guy deciding that he had a new Indian friend simply because we'd had a conversation. They were clingy and desperate too.
Make up for the actions of their ancestors.
I knew the type from a mile away. 4 more words with him and he'd invite himself onto the res, and dressed in native attire to prove how much he respected my culture. I groaned and placed the map and the food and drinks I'd grabbed before being rudely talked to by someone I didn't care about onto the front counter where the clerk was standing. The pimply-nosed and rotund teenager at the front offered me yet another customer service smile, and I started to die inside.
Is there anything else I can help you with today, sir?
She asked, smiling with
It's
poorly.
a chick? God damn
Can
it.
there not be any females?
No, I predetermined the voice, and then I gotta roll with it. Alright, it's alright. I'm rolling with it. Just imagine a chick with a... Never mind.
Can you re-say it so I can make it sound better?
Yeah, I got you.
Is there anything else I could help you with today, sir?
She asked, smiling with a poorly grafted on braces omnipresent on her teeth.
Yeah, I'd like to file a complaint about harassment.
I said, leaning forward to put my hand on the counter.
Has I done something wrong, sir?
No, not you, darling. Nathan, the chatterbox who doesn't know how to shut up. I want a manager to drill into him that people will ask you for help if they want it. Otherwise, shut the hell up and stop bothering people.
The girl bit her lip and I could see confusion on her face.
Sir, I'm not supposed to say this because the manager won't like it. But since we've had so many people quit, I'm the only person here. There isn't an employee named Nathan that's ever worked here that I know of.
I grimaced and stared her down. Then I pointed behind me to where Nathan had just been, standing like a slack-jawed idiot he was, and choked on my spit when I saw no one there. Grabbing my stuff from the counter, I stomped over to where the man had been and was left with nothing but confusion as I looked down and saw a collection of silver red rose petals strewn across the floor in the shape of an arrow that pointed to the display where one of the maps he'd mentioned was located.
That's cool. I like that.
I do like that.
What the hell?
I asked no one in particular. Shaking my head, I decided I didn't care for the explanation and rushed outside, ready to get the hell away from whatever was happening here. Black dogs and rosy floral arrangements weren't my idea of fun or the kind of reality I wanted to deal with.
Sir, you need to pay for those.
The clerk yelled out from behind the counter as I threw the door closed behind me and got back into my car with my ill-gotten gains that I placed in the passenger seat. Turning the truck on, I went into reverse and headed east. That, at least, was correct. I was back in control of things. Nothing was getting in my way. I didn't want to be a fool. I didn't want to be in a foul mood when I got back home after almost a decade to see my wife. Hurrit?
Mm-hmm.
Much like her name suggested, was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen in my life. Pretty much everyone knows each other on the res, so I'd grown up around her and been friends with her practically since birth. I'd married her after I knocked her up at 18. Her family was very Catholic, which you might find surprising, but is actually far more common on certain reses than others. That's why they were so insistent that the word abortion was never uttered, and I ended up with a gimp son with a dumb brain. Down syndrome's what the doctors preferred, but it was just a fancy name for something that afflicted someone who never should have been born.
Damn.
Jeez.
So this guy's kind of mean.
I don't like that.
I don't like this guy.
Are we not supposed to like him?
I think so. I think that's what the narrator's going for.
Okay, because I'm really not liking him.
Or the author's going for.
Now, you may think I hate the boy with how I talk about him, but nothing could further be from the truth. It's missing a beat.
I know. Could be further.
I'm just going to keep it real. As the melodious John Lee and Jerry Brown introduced to us non-blacks in the 70s, my son Jack was a good boy, much better than his worthless father, and he loved with pure love I ain't ever felt anywhere else. But his mind wasn't right, and he had mood swings with temper tantrums that could destroy everything and anyone in his path. I loved him, but I was a terrible father, which that was why it was so easy to just watch him at the end as he slipped beneath the ice at South Branch Lake.
Oh my
God! Well, I was too drunk to do anything to help him out.
Oh.
Wait, that breaks my heart.
Yeah, this is really sad.
You guys need to
Trigger
work on your trigger warnings.
Yeah, guys, god damn, please.
Jeez.
Please.
I think we're gonna have to start putting that in.
Yeah. All right.
Like, okay, hold on. Time out real fast, though. Truly honest thing. Okay, last episode, we talked about trigger warnings.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought maybe I just, like, am imagining this, but I thought someone mentioned that, like, technically if we are reading, like, horror poetry, or, oh my gosh, horror stories, that, of course, there's going to be trigger warnings in every story. But this is the thing. This is what my opinion is, and again, this is just my thoughts. Me and CW, we are reading these raw, because we want to give you guys our raw emotions.
Oh, and
so when we're talking about trigger warnings, it's like there are some people who might have a hard time with death. There might be some people who have a hard time with alcoholism. So please just put that in there, just in the beginning.
Yeah, I think that horror being. I think that's kind of a.
I think that's a broad statement if we just say every horror has
It's
that.
a little immature, in my opinion, because horror is such a wide variety of topics. I mean, we have cosmic horror, psychological horror, true horror, which is just
that one, yeah,
terrifying. There's just atrocities committed in war, stuff like that. And so there's such a wide variety. I think just saying that, well, you're reading horror,
that's such a broad.
It's a little too broad, because I mean I could go into something expecting creature feature, and wind up reading something as traumatic as, for those who know, Baraska.
Yeah.
You know, it's just one of those things where it's like no one really knows what they're getting into.
Well, and I think it also plays a part, like if we think about it, and again, I'm not trying to go on a tangent, but I think it needs to be said.
Yeah.
Is, like, even for us, when we read the one about the fire, you know, for us it triggered a little bit, which you hear in the episode, which, again, we want to give you our raw emotions. But my biggest thing is, what if that was triggering for somebody else who isn't as open as we are?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so for me, I just think it would be a little bit more beneficial if people put in,
I agree.
PSAs or anything like that.
Yeah, I agree.
Trigger warnings. Okay, back to it. Again, that was just a little tangent that I wanted to put up. Back to the actual story. Jack had gotten away from me as he was wont to do with whatever.
Yeah, want has multiple definitions, but this is spelled differently. This is like as he typically does. So it's a word.
That is a word?
Yeah.
How do you spell that?
Dang is literally just how it's spelled.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Jack had gotten away from me, as he was wont to do with whatever new hyperfocus had gotten into his addled brain, and I remember yelling at him to not go near the water, but it gets fuzzy after that. Most people love the snow and ice up here in the north, and I did too at one point, but all it ever does now is make me remember just how big of a screw-up I am. Winter is especially harsh at times, and the lake was almost covered in ice. Jack and I had gone on a walk together while his mother went to the tribal grocery store on the res, owned by one of our own. I had always enjoyed nature and animals, and Jack had taken a liking to them too. He couldn't say none of the names well or at all, but he knew what a squirrel or deer was based on how he moved his lips and how excited he'd be as he tried to make one of them his friends. That's why I do distinctly remember him trying to say the English word for snake as he ran into the water, trying to catch it as he did to every animal he saw. Now you and I know winter is no place for a snake, especially in the middle of the lake, almost covered in ice, but legend tells me a mighty horned serpent called I'm sorry if I pronounce this wrong, Gitaskog? Gitaskog?
Yeah, Gitaskog.
That dwells in every lake in the region. Depending on who's telling the story, I don't know if it's real or not, but I do remember the panic I felt when I looked down into the water to try and grab Jack, only to see what looked like a giant golden eyes staring back at me as they descended into the depths with my boy. I stared at the water defeated. My mind was hazy from the 9th beer I drank that day. 9?!
That's chump change.
And I let out a cry of anguish that alerted those of my people nearby to my plight.
Plight.
Oh, what's plight mean?
Plight is like problem, issue, current situation. I'd say more along the lines of current situation.
Every time I read and narrate, I feel stupider and stupider.
Nah, you're learning. That's what this is all about.
Anyways, well, guess we're gonna keep that in for anybody else who would have thought it said P-light. They took me in and called for assistance to dredge up the part of the lake, but no one ever found Jack. The temperature at that time of the day was 7 degrees Fahrenheit.
Have you ever heard how they dredge lakes?
I don't even know what dredge means.
Dredging is where they basically have an entire search party. Sometimes they'll run a net. I heard how they dredge like rivers.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so sick, man.
It's so.
It's like actually, it makes me physically ill.
Well, let's go back to the story.
Yeah.
Remember, this is a story.
Yeah, for sure. Even if.
Please put a trigger warning next time.
Trigger warning.
Even if they had found him, I'm no fool, and I know I would never have heard his voice again. Hurt for reasons I would never understand didn't blame me for what happened. I, on the other hand, raged against the heavens to a god or gods I didn't believe in for daring to let this happen to my boy, for daring to allow me to be his father, because no sensible god would let that happen. Rhett did what she could to quiet and calm me. Throughout our whole marriage, she saw herself as the suffering wife, the one who prayed for years in the poorly made closet of her bedroom where the light never works and the roaches reign supreme, for me to come to my senses and then submit myself to the same Jesus that had led the charge to murder most of our ancestors. I know I said what I said earlier, but you'd still be surprised with how many Indians fall for the Christian crap. Makes them feel better about themselves when they now serve the conquering Christ instead of the showing adoration and devotion to Kloskirba.
Kloskirby? Kloskirby? Something like
A
that.
first man and delivered of culture, or GC.
Geesey?
Oh my gosh.
GC, and then
Nowaski,
What?
who was our creator and supposedly...
Sorry, dude.
I know, I'm so sorry, guys.
So sorry, dude.
In parentheses.
I'm too white.
Okay. Who was our creator and supposedly, in parentheses, if you believe the quacks who pass on spiritual leaders in our community. End of parentheses. Have warned us about the coming of the white man and his greed, all the good it did us in the end. I laughed at her and told her that her God was no God of mine and I wasn't weak enough to serve him if this is how our boy had left us. But Hret was steadfast, telling me,
Lolon, let him do as he pleases in our broken and fallen world. You aren't God. You will never be. So stop applying for a position you'll never be qualified for.
I will not defend what I did next. You know by now that I am not a good man and never have been. I struck her. Okay.
Jeez. Okay. Trigger warning.
Abuse.
Abuse. Domestic abuse.
Oh my gosh.
Gee. This one's gonna be
This is going to be
really hard.
I struck her once with my right knuckle, the rage not subsiding with the first blow, as I felt my hands move almost throughout my thoughts behind their actions as they pummeled her over and over again. She cried out to my God, yelling my name to the point where I started to despise hearing it. I had never, even as my drunken worst, hit her before that moment. It's a monstrous feeling, one that gnaws at you, laughs at you, and tells you that you're just as bad as your father was. My old man had lived by a code of working all day in the lumber mill and then drinking away his sorrows with the other lowlifes on the res during the night. He treated my mother while she was alive as his personal punching bag, like he was on his way to challenge Ali or Foreman for the title. But that's when he was at home. There was one place where my father was a different man. On the weekends, he and I might watch movies by going all the way down to Bangor to sit in his car at the Bangor drive-in.
Is this in Maine?
It was a hell of a drive with him swerving around every car he saw and slurring his words. But it was the only time I could think of where he wanted to include me in something he liked. He fancied himself as a film buff and would talk about the different camera angles that were used or behind the scenes information he'd read in some magazine that just heightened his love for the movies back when he'd been my age. He'd wanted to run from home and go to Hollywood to be a director, but his father had laughed at him and called him gay for wanting to be Prancing Nancy for the whole world to be seen on screen. He tried to go to school and get good enough grades to go into college so he could go to film school, but no one on the res has money, and even as cheap as it was back then, he couldn't afford school, so he stayed, like everyone else always eventually, and everyone always does eventually, and becomes a family man, providing for said family with a job he hated. He died of liver failure right before Jack was born. I had sworn to myself to never be like my daddy. I don't like how I said that.
Daddy.
I had sworn to myself to never be like my daddy and to never lay a hand on my wife or children. Well, shit.
Hindsight's 20/20, buddy.
I succeeded at one of those things. His death heralded changing times in our life, as debtors came to us claiming he owed them on loans and we were now culpable to pay them off. Let this be a lesson to you all. They're damn liars. When a family member dies, most of the time, you ain't on the hook to give them one single dime. But nobody had taught me that, so now on top of being a husband and a soon-to-be father who knew how to bury his father, I had to provide for them better. As a result, I worked my ass off as a dealer and announced in the
Penobscot.
high-stakes bingo establishment on the oh-so imaginatively named Indian Island. I least I did, until I got drunk one night and hit the boss's wife in the face when I was trying to slug him instead.
Good lord.
When he thought I wouldn't hear the crack he made about Jack's...
Okay.
Are we doing this, or should we do a different story?
No, it's fine. It's fine. Jack's disability.
I'm not saying that word.
Jack's disability.
I know, not disability. The other word that he wrote in here.
I know.
Jack's disability after his drowning. 9 years of my life I had given to them, and one thing went wrong, and now suddenly I was without a job. There are no heroes here, I know, but once again I was lost. Harriet, true to her nature, tried to help me. But what she didn't know was that I'd been sleeping. Cheating.
Just adding that to the list. Cheating. Alright, so far on our trigger warning list, we have child neglect, death of a child, domestic abuse, alcoholism, and cheating. So, hey, good guy.
Good guy.
Okay, go ahead.
But what she didn't know was that I'd been sleeping behind her back with her sister,
Oh,
who
right.
offered to comfort me in the midst of my grief, and I couldn't stand to look at her. Because all I saw while I was with her was the other woman and the wounds I had given my wife in our first and only physical confrontation. That's when I decided to run away and give military service an audition of my skills instead, which shipped me off to Korea, where I wasted my days at Camp Casey right next to the DMZ. I could have taken her with me, but why would I bother ruining the lovely time I had there, getting to know all the prostitutes that plied their wares next to the base.
Prostitution.
They never asked for commitment outside of little cash flow, but I had plenty of that to use, especially since Harriet never bothered to ask for a divorce that would have led to alimony. But I felt so guilty, so I went after something that I had denied myself for years, hoping to break out and maybe support her from afar. I was never gonna follow through with it, but that's the motivation I gave myself to finally give writing a try. For years as a kid, I grew up on stories made up by res locals like Molly Spotted Elk, Sipsis, and Sherry Mitchell, where they would talk about our history and the need for change. They almost made you believe that we could do something about our current lot in life. I was dumb enough to think I could as a kid. I fancied myself a writer like them and even submitted Sipsis's main Indian newsletter, when that was still around in 1972. Where did you say?
Maine.
You totally guessed that.
Woo!
That was good. I'm shocked.
Hell yeah.
Good job.
Diagnosed.
I never knew if they liked the story or not because it folded that same year. But I kept at it and felt some more hope when some Maine local by the name of Stephen King got a start as a writer a couple of years later.
I am on it on this one. I am burning.
That's so good. So good.
So far, I've gotten Maine. I've got Stephen King. So we all right. We know where this is going.
Yep.
Okay, go ahead.
Then I forgot all about the stories of my people, and all I wanted to do was write horror like him. But much like my father in films, I wasn't fated to be a part of that world. Potential agents would see the same Lulan Toma on the manuscripts I sent and toss them away faster than a tomahawk. That's part of why I had named my son Jack instead of the native name. Hoped it might give him a chance and maybe some sympathy from others. But just like that had failed. Even the renewed vigor I had for the craft couldn't stop a part of me, always knowing I was doomed to failure. When my fellow soldiers learned that I was doing a night instead of always meeting the finest ladies of the night along them, they all laughed at me. I jumped at them all in rage and beat the hell out of them, but unfortunately for me, my CO saw it all and I was offered a dishonorable discharge, even though this was my first offense of this kind. Sure, I had history of being drunk and showing up for duty wasted, but did all that really mean I was supposed to be done with the military service permanently? Now I had to explain to potential bosses why I wasn't in the service anymore. If anyone would be willing to hire me now that that made me a pariah. It just wasn't fair. Now I was heading back to the res to stand before my wife and beg her to take me back because no one else wanted me. As I drove down the road, I sighed deeply. My self-serving memory was my best ally because it was the only one that believed in me. I think all of us have that inclination, but the good ones, the righteous ones, they learn how to deny themselves. I wasn't good, but I was already preparing my sob story so that Harriet took me back into our home. Surely she would, since she'd never divorced me, right? I looked at the map and gazed up from it every now and then to make sure I still had an idea of where I was going. If I was right in reading it, then there was a shortcut coming up that led down Engler Road, which Nathan had failed to mention, so screw him and his fake helpfulness. If I didn't get stuck behind a dusty tractor that no business being on the road, I could get back home before it was too late. Maybe even get a chance to be intimate with Harriet if she was willing. Oh my gosh, this guy's
all right. I'm starting to really not like this guy.
Turning to the left, away from the road that would have led me back to the interstate, I grinned smugly as I ended up on Engler Road. Like most back roads in Maine, it was devoid of any rational person would call civilization. Instead, I was surrounded by never-ending rows of balsam, fir, and red maple trees, whose foliage was at the zenith of their green coloration.
You're struggling here. At the zenith, whose foliage was at the zenith of their green coloration.
I only have my glasses on, and these aren't the right prescription.
It's okay. It's all right.
Clearly, I need them bigger. These words bigger and spaced out more. They're all jumbling. Let's try. The cones of each tree lay at the base of the tall wooden towers that had birthed them, promising to develop into yet another tree that would be as uniform and identical as the last. After 10 minutes of travel, I had yet to see a house, farm, or even another car, which suited me just fine. For my examinations and intuitions, his map indicated that I would need to be on it for about 20 minutes before I ended up on a road that would bring me closer to the res. See, the spacing really helps.
Wow, you're scooting.
Placing a hand outside the window, I twirled my fingers and felt the wind go in between them. It was oddly comforting to do something so simple and childlike, as I tried to recall the last time I had done something like that, which distracted me long enough to be taken by surprise as the world turned completely dark. I almost slammed on my brakes from the suddenness of the shift, but maintained my composure in place on the road as I wildly looked around for an explanation. Looking up at the sky, I saw no cloud coverage or any sign that the sun had ever been there to begin with. Likewise, there was no stars or moon to offer light. Were it not for my broken headlights, I wouldn't have been able to see anything at all. I scoffed. It was summer. The night wasn't supposed to fall and get this dark for another 2 hours. Now, I wasn't a meteorologist, so I had no idea how to explain it. I simply chalked it up to God hating me, because who else would be responsible for the day I had endured? Alright.
This guy's such a narcissist.
He is. At that moment, a sense of dread chilled my bones, and I feel the hairs on my arms stand. Are you cold? Okay. I felt the hairs on my arms stand. I felt the hairs on my arms stand up, and goosebumps became omnipresent over my body. Looking around wildly for any semblance of understanding, I looked off to my left and saw a dark red light hovering over a hill that looked like it had all of its trees cut down for lumber. It was still and lifeless until the shadows started to move and I witnessed 13 black dogs identical to the ones who had forced me off the road earlier in the day, baring their fangs at me. In the center of them, right underneath the dark red light, was a singular crimson light in the shape of an eye, of a being so unholy it made me want to become a believer just so I never was under its gaze again. It resembled a human, but it was twisted and deformed, like someone had bent a human face into some bizarre accident, yet had retained enough semblance of humanity as a mockery of what it had once been, and any normal person who happened to look at it. It had 2 eyes, but the right eye was glowing crimson with an ethereal smokiness that erupted upwards to fuel the dark red sphere above it. Even though we were hundreds of feet away from each other, I could hear its teeth grinding as it opened its maw. And I witnessed a second lamprey-like set of teeth underneath the first set, all ready to gobble me up without a moment's hesitation. After what felt like an eternity, the being turned its head to the left and grinned, still looking right at me as it barked orders to the black dogs to assail me. Crying out in fear, I slammed down on my accelerator to get the hell out of there. The black dogs followed their master's command with immense efficiency and speed, reaching my truck within seconds. They nipped at the car tires, and their jagged teeth would surely have taken them out if I hadn't swerved to the right just enough to get away from them. Engler Road was extremely narrow with hilly terrain to my left and a sheer drop to infinite trees to my right. I had to be extremely focused and aware to stay on the road without killing myself before the dogs could get to me. I looked briefly to my left and made eye contact with the largest of the beasts as it ran beside my truck. It bared its red fangs at me, and I cowered as I watched as the black dog was surrounded by ethereal red and black shadows that moved in ways opposed to three-dimensional expectations, snaking through the air as if breaking through reality itself to reach me. The shadows then lurched out from the dog and tried to spear me as I solidified into palpable darkness. If I hadn't slammed on the brakes, I would have been skewered. The force of the stop almost made me careen off the road, but it served an immense useful purpose as the dogs had been behind my trucks, either slammed into it at full speed or were crushed beneath the wheels. The dog that had tried to attack me had accidentally embedded its solid shadow it had used to attack me with in a tree anchored in the ravine on my right and was struggling to get them out so I could renew its assault. Before I could offer myself the simplest assurance of even momentary victory, I heard whistling behind me and a trembling when I saw the crimson-eyed entity stepping over one of the dead black dogs nonchalantly. It was walking towards me, mocking me with every slow step as if it didn't matter how far the distance was between us. The whistling reverberated through the air, splitting and disintegrating any other sound as my ears rung endlessly. The dogs that hadn't been crushed by the wheels started to recover from any sudden stop that the dogs that hadn't been crushed by the wheels started to recover from my sudden stop when they heard their master's cry for war, shook their heads, howling at the non-existent moon and the empty night as they rushed forward to renew their onslaught. I hit the accelerator again and gunned it out of there, getting a slight edge on the dogs by only a matter of a couple of yards. I dared to look back in the mirror at the crimson-eyed entity, and it was still slowly walking forward, still not caring about my attempted escape. It flashed a grin at me when it noticed I was looking at it, and I moved my eyes back to the road faster than I thought possible, not even wanting to think about its gaze upon me ever again. Whatever it was, I knew it was wrong. I had no right to exist, and continued to do so served as a mockery of true life. I didn't know how I knew those things about it, but I knew for sure that I wanted to get the hell away from it and its canine minions. Growing up on the res, you'd think that we all lived in a world filled with supernatural entities. They're the stones throw away from home. Growing up on the res, you'd think that we all lived in a world filled with supernatural entities that were a stone's throw away from home.
If our medicine men were to be believed, then Maine was stocked to the brim with spirits and deities that still demanded our attention. But even with what I'd experienced, I couldn't bring myself to believe in any of it until that moment in time. Only a true fool of a man could experience what I had in one day alone, and say that the world was completely natural and free from the superstitious nonsense. I didn't know what they were, but I knew enough to realize they were real and they wanted me dead. I aimed to make sure they never saw the latter come to fruition. I didn't know how long this bent road went,
but I had a massive suspicion that it went on as long as my pursuer demanded of it. I had no way of knowing if that was true or not, but paranoia and mindless speculation were becoming my greatest opponents as I raced around the windy Angler Road. My heart rate was rising exponentially, and I was sweating profusely, which combined would get me killed if I didn't find a way out of this before I made some boneheaded split-second decision. Slamming the brakes had worked once, but the creatures trying to chase me down didn't strike me as the types to fall for it again.
Barking and howling greeted my ears again, and I realized they were gaining on me. Back roads in Maine tended to average around 35 miles per hour in my experience. Not that I'd ever follow the law to begin with. I usually kept about 50 miles per hour when I was driving normally. As even a dunkerhead like me...
A dunderhead?
What did I say?
No, you said it wrong, but it's a dunderhead. What the hell is a dunderhead? I've never even heard of that before.
Apparently, I don't know any of these words, so...
That's a cute insult.
You're a little dunderhead.
Hey,
That could be really bad.
You
should look it up.
Yeah, I should probably. It's probably slang.
Before we keep going.
Knowing this guy...
Yeah, this is a little rough.
It's an old-fashioned informal word for a stupid, foolish, or slow-witted person.
So is it a slang?
It is a light insult.
Oh, okay.
So we're good.
Dunder. Like thunder, but dunder.
Hey, Dunderhead. 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 You'd be better off and dead.
All right. No. Not appropriate. You just took that light saying...
And I turned it into a slightly medium.
Nope. Turned it horrible.
Okay, go ahead.
Like me, knew taking one turn too fast was a good way to die. But then I could swear I saw the...
Gauge.
I know. Had to move this.
Okay.
But that night, I could swear I saw the gauge at 80 miles per hour. If what had occurred next had failed to happen, I highly expected that I would have died careening off the road at even higher speeds, but I heard movement and I cried out in horror as the crimson-eyed being stood right next to my open driver's side windshield, as if floating in the air. He grinned at me and reached out for me until it suddenly stopped, as if it's sensing some form of protection over me I was completely unaware of. We both watched in surprise as a single silver-red rose petal slipped out from underneath my camo coat and flew into the air behind the truck as I continued racing ahead to potential freedom, ignoring potential questions about where the petal had come from, as I didn't need any further distractions. You know, I was about to say, what if it would be his son? Like protecting him?
Yeah.
But his name's not Nathan.
Well, Nathan could just be a spiritual entity that's trying to protect him.
I'm just saying.
I think if it goes that route, it's going to be really, really sad.
Yep. It already is.
No,
this guy's a jackass.
Yeah, this guy's a dick, and he's just being a dick to everybody.
But I'm just saying, what if it was him, though? What if it was the son?
I think that's a very viable.
That's what I'm thinking.
Very viable. I kind of hope it goes there.
I do. But at the same time,
with
everything that's gone on so far in this story, I don't know.
Do you think that this narrator can be redeemed?
Okay, when you say narrator, are you saying...
So there's writers, the writer
the
of the story.
author?
Yeah, the author.
Who writes.
And then there's the narrator, that's the person telling the story.
That's the one telling the story. Yeah. So this guy, the bad guy here, the douchebag, he's the narrator of the story. Because whenever you say narrator, I'm like, yeah, I'm narrating the freaking story.
Yeah. No, you're the narrator of the narrator.
Reading the story. Okay.
You're the narrator of the narration.
I'm making it come alive.
The narrator wrote.
I got it. Now, what was your question?
Do you think he can be redeemed? I
would love to know how he would get redeemed if he redeemed.
Yeah, I think it's very hard to redeem this guy in my eyes.
Because if you look at the possibilities in this story, look at, like, the 7 trigger warnings he's already hit.
Yeah.
So, like,
let's go down the list.
How are you going to come back from that?
Child neglect, death of a child, domestic abuse, alcoholism, cheating, and prostitution.
Yeah. So I'm curious, though, on, like, how he would come back from that, but I understand the thought process of, oh, there is a possibility he could.
Yeah.
You know?
All right.
Where did we stop?
The entity then
Okay,
snarled.
so we started right there. Okay. The entity then snarled and mockingly mimicked, saying a name with its lips it couldn't make out. What's an entity? Entity?
An entity is like a
spiritual being?
Spiritual being of some kind.
Okay, that's what I thought. The entity then snarled and mockingly mimicked, saying a name with its lips I couldn't make out. Turning to its right, it barked out a command, and the black dogs all stopped at once. Standing in place with their master, he turned to watch my truck race away as it hovered several inches off the ground, completely still, with its hands behind its back. They all watched in twisted bemusement as they made no move to approach me further, almost as if they had all gotten near some unseen barrier or territory. Anathema to them? An anathema?
Anathema?
The crimson-eyed being stared directly at me, and I felt a strange sensation when its resentfully lacerating voice entered my mind.
Well,
It said menacingly.
looks like my time to hound you is over.
It smirked again with both sets of teeth.
You're someone else's meal now. Good luck. Beware of the lights on the Angler Road.
Time out. If he could have talked to him this whole time, why hasn't he?
Because he's trying to kill him. He's trying to look intimidating.
Yeah, but you could be like, I'm gonna kill you, something.
Gonna kill it. I gotta kill you.
I gotta come after you. But then all he does is stands there hovering over like 4 feet and says, beware.
Yeah, what if he's like transcribing like the entire first episode of the Mesoscale podcast? It's like all the guy hears in his head, "Hey everybody!
Guess what today's gonna be like?"
Today we're reading Axe Wielder and the Compliment Jar."
I just think that's so funny that he waited so long to talk while he's like telling all his other dogs to like come and get him. I don't know, I thought it was funny.
I agree.
Alright. I didn't have time to ask questions, process what had just occurred, or even see where it disappeared to. Because right at that moment in my peripheral vision, I saw 2 lights ahead of me. My head twisted forward, and I watched as 2 giant beams of light, almost like eyes, were barreling towards me. Dang, this guy has no time to relax.
This guy's like, fuck!
He's like barely being able to breathe. He hears something in his ear, and the next thing he knows, he has this thing coming after him again.
Yeah, he sees literally the devil. And the devil's like, you're...
Psych!
The devil's like, you're fucked, dude. I'm sorry.
They were massive looking, more like they belonged to a dinosaur or a giant moray eel. Hold on.
It's a dinosaur. It's Jurassic Park. We're reading Jurassic Park.
Nope. Nope. We're not going to get copyrighted because of that. Before that, the human brain starts to process to make decisions within 30 to 60 milliseconds of realizing the need for it. Then an additional 300 milliseconds for a brain to actually make the decision, and finally 500 milliseconds to act on the decision. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. Just like I don't know how long it took me to make my decision. But the driver of the car ahead of me made theirs first, and they swerved to my right and far off the road to the muddy ground filled with trees. The already bent up 67 Chevy Nova smashed into the trees. I cried out in fear, slammed on my brakes, stopping about...
Welcome to Jurassic Park.
You had to look that up?
Yeah, I did. Slammed on the brakes, stopping about 30 feet from where they'd gone off the road.
Keep going.
Okay, I got you. I didn't know if the black
Why'd you
dogs
go
or the
like this?
crimson-eyed beings were still near me. A rational thought wasn't my ally in those moments. Oh my god. And
You need the larger one?
No, I got it. And I highly doubt anyone would do much better, because I knew who was driving that car and who had been with her in the back seat, since I had seen them in the briefest of moments as they swerved off the road to their potential doom. Here it's Sister Taki. I'm sorry. Was not the warmest woman. As she never. God, I'm taken from this story so bad. My gringification of all of these names and all these
They're
words.
so bad. We're doing so bad at narrating this
I know.
story. Oh. Hey,
Okay,
just so they know, this is all raw at least. Like,
Yeah.
we are not faking.
Taki. I'm just going to say Taki. I know it's wrong, but that's...
Keep going, and I'm going to try and see if I can find out what it is.
Okay. Here it's Sister Taki.
I can't take you
God
seriously.
Was not the warmest woman, and she never really liked me being with her sister. Well, yeah. But she... Wait, didn't these two fuck?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Because she was all... Could be,
Hold
okay.
on, listen. Oh, hold on.
It's like, I don't think you looked up the right name.
Okay, hold on. Okay, here we go.
Tahi.
Tahi.
So Tahi?
Tahi. I think it's Tahi.
Again. Tahi. Tahi. Tahi.
Okay. Oh, it is ta, like hockey, but ta. With a T. Hockey.
Taki.
Taki.
Okay.
Taki.
Okay, what about hear it? Hear it.
Oh, that's a... Taki is the Mongolian wild horse.
What?
That's what it says.
Look up native.
Taki horses.
I'm lost. I thought we were in Maine.
Oh, how to pronounce Taki in Maine?
Yeah, and I don't know what tribes. I know it gave us the tribe name. I feel so bad. Like, okay, I grew up.
No, okay. I also have to preface. We're not laughing about the names.
No.
We're laughing because we suck at knowing how to pronounce things.
I grew up, like, living right next to a Navajo res. So I thought I was pretty decent. I'm not. There's no way.
It told me I spelled it wrong, and it's Ruhkee. Ruhkee.
Well, that's not how it's spelled.
And that's not how it's spelled. So I'm going to say Tahi.
Yeah.
And then we're going to do Hurit. Hurit. This one I feel a little bit more pronounced.
Are we way off?
Pronounce the French word wheat. That's the first sentence.
Wheat?
Yeah.
Like H-U-I-T?
Like 8. Yeah.
Yeah, wheat? That's
Wheat.
crazy.
No. It resaid that. So hold on. Let me find the correct thing.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna put my head to the wall. This is not good to do after a 12-hour shift, guys. Just so you guys know.
Okay, hold on. We're gonna get this right. Okay, to pronounce hurt, say the sound like the word her, and add a crisp T sound at the end.
So
it
hurt.
rhymes with dirt and shirt.
Hurt? So it's just hurt? Or is it hurt? I'd imagine. So yeah, no, it's hurt.
Oh, hold on. No, it autocorrected to how to pronounce hurt. Hurt. Okay. We're going to get this right, you guys.
I know. I'm just going to stop saying the names until I know how to say them. So I could say Taki.
Oh! The name Hurit of Native American origin means beautiful or good.
That's literally, he says that in the story. Our narrator literally told us that.
Well, I'm reading now.
I was taking their word for it.
Is pronounced who?
Who?
Rit.
Hurit.
Who?
Wow, we were way off.
Hurit.
So it's Hurit.
Hurit.
So
Okay,
Hurit and Tahi.
No, let me see if I can figure out this one now. Now that I spelled things right. Tahi.
Tahi.
Okay, it still says. So the first thing that it's coming up with is the rare wild horse.
Okay, well we'll just.
So that's Taki.
Okay, well.
Like rhyming with achy. Taki.
Okay, cool. That's fine. So Hurit. Okay.
Hurit.
Good.
Oh. Well, I'm curious.
Well, we got the. Okay.
All right. Well, that's our attempt.
Okay.
Guys, I'm really sorry. We are trying. We're not making fun of things. We're making fun of ourselves not being able to pronounce things. I promise.
I'm a piece of shit.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Hurit
Tahi.
was not the warmest woman, and she never really liked me being with her sister because she always saw herself as being my woman first.
Ooh.
She had always cursed the fact that I had gotten Hurit
Oh my God.
pregnant first because I had been with both before and after my marriage. Okay.
That's crazy. This guy.
Dang, this family must be hot.
This family tree's a bush.
I had never once considered her feelings on the matter and merely used her as an outlet for stress, but she never called me out on it. She hated and loved me all at once, and she treated her Hurit horribly and was always so proud whenever I deigned to come by and bed her, seeing it as a victory over her sister. I didn't care about the
familial.
Clearly he doesn't. The familiar matters so long as I got mine, but I did often wonder if Hurit knew about her deadbeat husband's extracurricular glooming activities, but if she did, she never told me. Hurit wasn't one for confrontation. Alright, well, Hurit needs a better husband.
Yeah, I feel bad for Hurit.
I practically leaped out of my truck, barely having the thought to grab my flashlight from the passenger's side dash as I did so.
Tahi!
I cried out in the darkness, not wanting to say the other person's name just yet, as I trembled in fear and unbelief.
Tahi! Are you okay? Or are you hurt?
Are you too hurt?
Fuck! Okay.
Tahi! Are you too hurt?
There was a silence from below. Engler Road was like several roads on the back ends, a main where one or two sides would be above a ravine or such, and this one was about 10 feet over the ground. Can you please see how much longer we have of this story? That the car had fallen into. It would be easy to get down, given how the ground was laid out, so I acted without thought, and I got down into the muddy incline, sliding down on my ass when I lost stability and ended up right next to the car. It had already been a pathetic shell of itself inside before the crash, most like res cars, but the fall and collision with the trees had totaled it completely. Barely anyone on the res has money, so we tended to keep clunkers for decades beyond the acceptable usage, using bubble gum and railing wires to keep them together, just so we didn't have to buy a new car. But he had inherited their father's car when he died, since I already had the truck from my daddy. Forced myself out of the mud and stood up as my shoes crunched over the cones that had fallen from the nearby trees. The driver's side door was wide open and the lights were flickering on and off. I approached the door and looked inside. This was Tahi's car, as it was filled with her favorite cigarette packages and fish jerky now smashed all over the vehicle. Trembling once more, I dared to look into the back of the car and found no one there, and a paradoxical sense of relief and anger flushed over me. Moving away from the car, I sent the flashlight's beam into the woods, seeing Tahi's footprints moving to the north. But they weren't alone. There was a second right beside hers, but oh so small and frail, just like the mind of the one that wielded the feet that made them.
Tahi! What are you doing with my boy?
I asked.
What are you doing out here with Jack?
I knew how stupid that question was. Jack had been dead for around a decade, and Tahi had never cared for him before, so it made no sense for a dead child to be with a woman I cheated on my wife with. But I knew what I saw, and that as that car had suddenly appeared out of nowhere.
Hold on. What if he's got an illegitimate child? A bastard.
Nathan.
Oh. We did also mention abortion, too. We already mentioned abortion. So, oh yeah, trigger warning, abortion. Fuck, I gotta add that to the list too.
No, there was none.
Yeah, no, they mentioned abortion.
When?
In the very beginning.
Oh.
Abortion. Okay.
So what if she never got one?
So what if she never got one and it is his kid? Or it's the spirit of both of them, they're both dead. Something along those. Okay, go ahead.
I couldn't deny what I was right in front of me, what I saw right in front of me. So I headed forward, whether out of the hope of reuniting with him or anger that I didn't understand what was going on. Couldn't tell you. I simply moved where I knew I shouldn't. Every other thought in my mind was telling me that I'd been tricked. And whatever that freak was that was working with the black dogs was also working with something else to take me for reasons unknown. But I killed those thoughts because my boy was waiting for me ahead. So I traveled into the forest, home of the unknown spirits, demons, and deities for countless eons, as my people had recollected from the times I remember actually caring about our folklore. Forests had always been seen in culture as a place of danger and uncertainty. Regardless where one comes from, and the truth had been self-evident from the beginning on why there were no civilization there. The comforts of home, the certainties of community, and the laid-back nature of life in the city did not exist in the wild. Even denying the existence of the supernatural, it was a fool's errand to go there alone. You had no guarantee of food, water, clothes, shelter. If anything, you had the guarantee of the opposite, and the guarantee that people would talk behind your back for going out and doing something as foolish as this. But I didn't care what people thought of me. I had to move forward, if for no one's else's sake than mine. I didn't know how long I trekked ahead, but I knew I would never find my way back to my truck without help, because the forest was consuming the path behind me. When I dared to look behind to get my bearings, nature is a beautiful thing. It's also a cruel thing, one that takes a man away from what he knows and exposes him for the animal he really is. I grew frustrated and knew now. That part of me understood that I was being played even more, but I argued against that line of thought because the other part of me knew that if the force truly was rearranging itself to prevent me from returning to my truck, then there was nothing I could do to stop it. Short of burning it all down, which would be victory at best, as I could either die to the fire or smoke inhalation, assuming I could set the fire at all. That was when I saw the lights again. But they were different this time. They were stationary, and about 20 yards ahead of me, directly in the path I'd been following of the two sets of footprints. I rushed forward, calling on my family's name, but I heard no response. It was only when I'd gotten ahead by about 30 feet that I saw Tucky and Jack at the mouth of a cave directly underneath the lights. Jack was holding Tucky's hand tenderly, and he beckoned me forward alongside his aunt as they turned their back to me and entered the cave. Maine isn't particularly known for its caves, but we had a handful, and I knew there were no cave near these parts. Otherwise, I'd have heard of it. But once again, I denied the thought when I saw them disappear into the darkness underneath the twin lights above the entrance. I stared up at the lights, gawking, almost forgetting why I was there in the first place. The lights were heavenly, even if chills ran down my spine at the sight of them. They gleamed in darkness, revealing the size of the cave ahead of me. But there was no sign of intelligence in them, or a sign of them being manufactured. They simply were, or at least that's how I rationalized it. I felt the siren's call to enter the cave, and any resistance I had to the contrary died when I looked down at the two sets of footprints that had entered the mouth of the cave. Shaking my head, I ran forward, flashlight beam directed in front of me, as I followed once more for my family by their names, with only the echoes of my voice answering me back. The cave had looked immense, but on the inside it was far narrow and lower to the ground. I'd never been claustrophobic before, but now I was beginning to feel the appeal of the fear. I crouched down and shuffled forward, holding on the flashlight ahead of me for dear life.
This doesn't make sense.
I thought.
None of this makes sense. What the hell is going on here? No one knows where I am. No one will come looking for me.
I sighed, frustrated with my fear for making me so weak. I had a job to do, even if I didn't understand it. To distract myself, I looked at my watch, or rather my former
CO's.
CO's watch that I'd nabbed from him after my discharge, and saw that the time was 7:13 p.m., thanks to the fancy button on the side that could light it up in the darkness.
It's good.
As the earth trembled around me, so did my body, as the deathly reverberations that felt as if they were to rip and tear my skin away from me. I held my hands up over my ears, dropping my flashlight into the abyss around me. Found that they did nothing to stop the pain or numbness that would erupt at conflicting spots all over me, only to then switch to the opposite side of my body and begin anew. For what seemed to be an eternity, I thrashed around blindly as I closed my eyes. My ears rung without end. I hit the side of the cave wall and felt a moist substance connect with my right cheek, and sensed a new threat as an acidic brew now caused further pain, and I finally felt my skin burn away for real. I dropped to the ground and withered around in agony until, without rhyme or reason, the pain and loud noises subsided completely. I opened my eyes cautiously and found that I could barely see a foot in front of me. I should have been unable to see anything, but through some unknown force I was allowed some sight. I grasped around flaccidly for the flashlight, but could not find it anywhere, and I felt small burning sensations when I touched what I assumed to be water that made me jump up and hit my head on the cave ceiling. Pain burst through my nerves once again, and I foolishly held a hand to my face and cried out in pain as I made contact with the dissolving skin on my cheek. That part had been real, but how? What could have caused this? I looked down at my watch and pressed the light button and let out a cry of confusion when I saw that the time was 7:14. That had all just lasted a minute. It felt like it would never end. I closed my eyes in despair.
Yeah, I got you. But then the strangest thing happened. I opened my eyes. I wasn't in the cave anymore. I stood up and didn't hit the cave ceiling, surprising me further as I realized I was back in my house on the res. It was relatively clean aside from Jack's books that he'd thrown all over the couch. He couldn't read a lick of them, but the pictures made him feel pretty happy as he recognized animals he'd memorized. I picked one up and went through it, shocked as I felt my lips curl into a faint smile as I recalled the many times he read the stories to me. You made a good choice picking those up for him, a harmonious voice said from behind me, making me drop the book in surprise as I turned around and stared at its originator with my jaw agape. Hurit stood in front of me, taking off her apron and placing it down on a nearby chair I had promised to fix 7 months ago. I stared into her hauntingly gorgeous brown eyes, and she offered me a sweet smile, blushing when she saw how intently I was looking at her. She turned her head to the side and played with her luscious black hair by running through it with her fingers. She looked exactly as I remembered her, as if no time at all had passed. Well, say something, you big dope, Hurit said, laughing. You're acting like this is the first time you've ever seen me, Lolam. I stuttered for a moment before I said, Sorry, Hurit. You spooked me, is all.
She laughed again.
Well, at least I know you're sober today.
God damn. God damn. God damn.
Oh, that was sad. God. Fuck.
I winced at her words.
I would too.
When had she ever said that to me? As I had that realization, the pain returned from my wounds, and I cringed, reaching for my cheek out of instinct, only to find that I had never disintegrated at all. Confused, I touched the part of my body that had touched that acidic moisture, and saw nothing wrong with them either.
Oh, God. Okay, I'm not going to say that word, but I'm going to say...
What's wrong, love?
What's wrong? Name. Netasominam.
I'm not even gonna try to spell it.
Netasominan.
What's wrong? Here, keep reading for a second.
She asked, confused. I bit my tongue at the word she'd chosen to call me by. In our native Penobscot, women usually referred to their male sweethearts as fox grapes. I didn't know why we did it so culturally, but Hurid had added to her 2 cents in by saying that boyfriends and husbands, like fox grapes, are a bit musky and tart, but when you have enough of them, they're actually super sweet. It wasn't particularly pithy like most English terms of endearment, but for her, it had always gotten to the point, across that she knew who I was and could be, and she loved me despite all that.
Nothing.
I said, lying, as the pain receded instantly in response.
Where's Jack at?
Oh, Tahi's with him, Hurid offered. Don't know what came over her, but she apologized to me today and said she should be a better aunt. Look, that's them now coming up in her res car. I turned to look outside the window, and my eyes widened as I saw Tahi park her Chevy Nova right beside our little house, without showing a single sign that it had ever suffered damage from the crash. It still looked beat up and like it was barely hanging on by a thread like most res cars, but that was the status quo. Tahi waved at us from outside and went to the seat behind her to take Jack out. He instantly ran out once he was unbuckled and pointed at the pink fireweed that Hurid had planted next to the small green garden I'd crafted for her after we'd first gotten married. Hurid was very politically active on the res and had taken it upon herself to help people see the difference between the native fireweed and the invasive species that was the purple loosestrife. And the water garden had been a visual way of showing And the water garden had been a visual way of showing this. People would say, "If it ain't like Hurid's, then you need to burn it." I could see Jack outside next to the water garden, mumbling that phrase as he seemed so very pleased with himself. I wondered how the water garden looked now that I had been gone for so long. Tahi and Jack eventually made their way inside and greeted us all warmly. Jack ran into me with reckless abandon and called me "Daddy!" as he wrapped his fierce yet lovely arms around my ankles. Out of instinct, I reached down and patted his head, ruffling his wild hair that refused to conform to his mother's comb. Jack didn't know how to say many words, but Daddy was one of the easiest for him to deploy in his arsenal, without needing to focus like he had to with others.
Good to see you, boy,
I said, picking him up into my arms and hugging him tightly, just as the pain returned to my body, almost making me drop him. Tahi laughed.
His grip ain't that tight, Lalone,
she said.
Or are you just getting old?
I eased myself and made sure Jack was okay, feeling a slight sting in my cheek as I did so. Then I looked Tahi in the eyes and saw nothing in them except the love one would expect from a sister-in-law that wasn't fooling around behind her sister's back. Good to know she was still the stone-cold woman I'd always known her to be. As the pain subsided again,
"I'm plenty young,"
I said, placing Jack back down on the floor as he scurried away to his picture books on the couch.
"No, what were you two up to?"
"Spent some time down by the lake," Tahi said. "Had to stop him from bringing back every water, ribbon, and garter snake he saw home. Kid loves his snakes." I grimaced but said nothing.
"Well, enough of that,"
Rhett said. Huret said, noticing my change in demeanor.
Who's hungry for some bread-skin cod, quail egg, plenty of rice, and a blueberry wajabi?
Jack rushed into the kitchen without a word, making the two sisters laugh, and they soon followed after him. I stood alone in the family room, looking around and feeling so small, out of place in this paradisical lie, all while I smelled the perfectly spiced food in the kitchen directly ahead of me. I may be a fool at times, but I'm not stupid. This was all wrong and not evident of any reality I had ever experienced. Huret had cooked all of these things and more at one point in our marriage, but never all at once. We were poor, dirt poor. This was the kind of meal we might have had if it were a special occasion, with the whole res celebrating, certainly not in our own home. I looked around, my anger rising. I saw the more inconsistencies that riled me up. The lights were all working for once. The electrical services, we were 30 years out of date and barely lit up anything. The window shutters were pristine and perfect here, but the ones I remember had been busted when I drunkenly reached out for them to steady myself from falling one night, and I hadn't bothered to get new ones. The water garden outside hadn't had water running in it for about 4 years, and the plants had withered and died. I suppose I could always have found more glaring inconsistencies to my actual memories, but to hell with them. I was living elsewhere now. I didn't know how it happened, but it was better than I knew. So in light of all that, I sat down and enjoyed a wonderful meal with my family. We all laughed and talked about our days and spoke about how just amazing life was with all the blessings we had. Jack was improving in speech therapy that we had never been able to afford in our old life. Taki had just found herself a new beau working with the Indian Affairs Department, and even better, he asked her to marry him as she showed the ring off, which made Huret explode in excitement. Already prepared to set up everything for the wedding. Finally, Huret looked deeply into my eyes and said that she was so proud of me for being 2 years sober and now for being a sponsor for our local chapter of Alcoholics Anonymous. I laughed at the ridiculousness of it all, but then the laughter turned legitimate as I started to experience memories of those very things happening. Fantasies are one of the greatest gifts granted to human beings. The world can be such a harsh and terrible place, and sometimes you're the one who contributes to making it as such. But in your fantasies and daydreams, that doesn't happen. You're the one making the world a better place just by being you. Arguments are dissolved in a rational way. People don't cause problems at all, and you can be the hero of any story you tell. Some would argue that spending too much time in fantasies is harmful to you. But was that so bad? This home I was in now was a paradise compared to the world I destroyed. Was it so wrong to just sit down and enjoy a meal with my family?
A succulent Chinese meal.
Maybe I could start over. I was having like a feeling
Yeah, sorry.
reading this, and you just
Sorry,
totally
every
got me out.
every time someone says enjoy a meal, it always brings me back.
Maybe
He's
someone...
grabbing my penis. He's grabbing my penis. What is a man not allowed to enjoy a meal? A succulent Chinese meal?
Gentlemen, this is Democracy Manifest. Have a look at the headlock here. See that chap over there? Get your hand off my penis! This is the bloke who got me on the penis before. What is the charge? Eating a meal? A succulent Chinese meal?
Cut that out.
It's so
Maybe someone was giving me a second chance, and I had been transported mind and soul back into my body before I screwed everything up, and this someone had even blessed my family with more than we ever had to sweeten the deal. Surely no evil being out there would bless a man like this. No. I had to be crazy to think otherwise. Even though my skin started tingling in pain, I kept eating, a smile on my face even as the agony stretched over every inch of skin and nerves in my body cried out in terror. If I had to be the one to suffer instead of them, wouldn't that be better for everyone involved? Yeah, I could be a good man here. A good man suffered to make other people feel good. I'd never tried it before, so no time like the present, right? But then I felt my feet getting wet as the moisture started seeping up from the underground. from underneath the floor of my home, covering us up to our knees. Although I was the only one who showed any signs of noticing it, or that I was in pain, I looked down and watched the colorless, acidic mixture foaming as it swirled around us all. Jack was laughing at a joke Huret told, and Taki was covering her teeth as she chuckled. I laughed too in order to be included, which only caused the acid to bubble up even further, coming up to my lower chest. I gripped my silverware tightly and continued to show my family attention and devotion as they continued to not notice my plight. My teeth were grinding against each other. I almost choked on the food in my mouth multiple times over, all while I felt my lower body disintegrating with each passing second. I closed my eyes and realized that I was dying without knowing why any of what had happened tonight had happened at all. Black dogs, crimson eyes, demons, and unsolicited visions of what life could have been like. Had I been a better man, had crippled my mind's ability to process any of it, and the pain wasn't helping one bit. I knew there was no escape from this. I wondered if I had died sometime earlier in the day, and this was all some desperate attempt to my brain to linger for as long as possible. I doubted that idea, but I didn't know what to believe about what happened to me. Rhett and her Catholic folks believed in a literal purgatory where the people who believe in God... Purgatory. Where the people who believed in God have to spend time refining themselves before they can get to heaven. I wasn't among their number, so I knew that wasn't where I could be, and the purgatory had never been mentioned anywhere in the basic scriptures I'd read as a kid. So I never believed it at all. Maybe I was dead and in hell. I knew I wasn't a good man. Hell was made for people like me. It was probably just better to accept this. But I shook my head at the thought. I didn't believe in Satan or literal hell, despite what I had read on to the contrary. I wasn't going to be ruled over by anyone. I had to live. I had to get back home to my real family and regain my purpose. Opening my eyes in defiance, I involuntarily gasped when I realized I was now the focus of everyone in the room. They all stared at me as they tilted their heads to the left and grinned madly. I could see their teeth. I couldn't help but feel as if I was the next thing they wanted to tear into.
It's okay, Daddy,
Jack said in a flawless English.
It's almost over. Just accept it.
I started to cry. It was everything I'd ever wanted. If I'd been a better man. Jack spoke just like the rest of us. Years of anger of him being born different was gone as soon as I heard him speak like a normal person, but it was swiftly replaced by pure rage. Something wanted me to give in to his fantasies and die like a dog. I refused to give in to the satisfaction, but even with the twisted look on Jack's face, I couldn't help but want what the unknown entity wanted. I felt the acidic moisture rise up to just underneath my chin and cried out in pain. I was being eaten alive by something that had deceived me into heading into its mouth.
Oh, that's...
with the best
okay.
lure it had available in my family.
Oh, that's
I didn't know
cool.
what this thing was, why it existed, or why it had chosen me to become a target, but I knew I couldn't beat it. I didn't even know if I was right.
Hold on.
I didn't know that anything was right at all. Yes?
Oh my gosh. That is... we gotta stop here for a minute. That is so sick. He literally... Because it mentioned the headlights.
Mm-hmm.
Remember the headlights sitting above the cliff... The cave? And how they were on, and it lured him in using his family.
Yep.
Like the light lures the fish in. That's so sick.
That was really cool,
That
actually.
is such a cool reveal. I didn't know where this was going. And I was getting really nervous that it was going to take a weird turn. But I am so locked in right now. This is so cool. Okay, go ahead. Sorry. I just had... Okay, yeah, I got you. My body seized as acid continued to dissolve me away piece by piece, molecule by molecule, and atom by atom. It wasn't fair. I had to live. I had so much to live for, but I had no way to fight for myself anymore. So what else could I do? What else does one do when they're left with no options? When they've tried everything else, knowing that they don't deserve for there to be an answer, because No, just being would deign to answer them. I did what I have never truly done before and cried out to God for help. God, please, help me, I said, crying as I felt the acidic juices tearing into my gums with every syllable that passed my lips, while the acid rose above my mouth and up to my nose, suffocating me. Why call out to a god you don't even believe in? Asked a kind voice from somewhere I couldn't see that was both paradoxically comforting and damning. I can't escape myself. The voice chuckled. Good enough for now. Cease, abomination. At that exact moment, I felt mighty pressure all over me, as if something was exhaling in pain all at once, and the acidic moisture splashed backwards, completely destroying the idyllic family home I'd once occupied moments before. My fake family reached out their hands towards me as they were swept away into darkness, crying out my name as I fell onto the cave floor, and my eyes adjusted once more to the dark, sensing that I had just made something very angry with my desperate plea. Escuda, eat. You've had your turn, so shut up.
The voice commanded, opening my eyes and trying to stand up. I felt weaker than ever before in my life. My skin was sunken and caged as if I had been rotting away in the exposed air for weeks. My bones rattled and my muscles spasmed from deterioration. I feebly looked over to where I thought the voice had come back from and gasped in shock when I recognized Nathan. He was dressed far differently now, as he was garbed in a khaki trench coat, white undershirt, khaki pants, gray fedora, silver sunglasses, red and silver necktie, a sword sheathed on his left hip, and a silver belt with multiple metal pouches. He was sitting on nothing in the air, as if he could make something solid at his slightest whim, and he was looking down disdainfully at me, and I was reminded of the crimson-eyed being powers, which caused Nathan to glare at me even more, as if he could read my thoughts without the slightest strain.
Never associate me with that freak,
he growled.
Now stand up and fight back, kid.
My body wished to do no such thing. I could still feel the acid's effect on my body, as if it had stolen every precious nutrient from me in order to sustain itself, but I knew this couldn't be true if I was still alive. My cry to God had been answered, and it had stopped before it could fully consume me and render me helpless. Gasping for air, I flailed to my feet, to my left, and lie flat on the ground for a time until I mustered the will to push myself off the ground. My arms felt as if they would split in two from the strain, but I ignored them and gradually pushed myself up enough to get on my knees. An eternity passed before I could command my legs to move together to get off the cave ground. I stood in place and wheezed uncontrollably, wanting to cough and vomit all over the floors. But I didn't have the energy or supplies for either. So I stood in place, looking ahead at Nathan, who nodded and jumped off the imaginary item that had suspended him in the air, and he walked to stand beside me with his hands in his pockets.
Lowland Homa, you are alive,
Nathan said.
For now. Your continued existence will depend on you and the actions you take.
I asked, barely... Oh, nope.
Whoa.
What the hell is happening here?
I asked, barely standing upright.
You're being tested by an entity that had no right to test you. I am here because it and the one who earlier pursued you cheated. That, and you called out for God, and he sent me to help you.
I scoffed.
And what's that make you? An angel?
It was his turn to scoff.
No, kid. I'm all too human, just like you. The difference is I actually responded to my calling even after kicking and screaming the whole time.
He laughed. derisively at his own remarks.
No, I'm not an angel. I'm a husband to a beautiful wife with awesome kids, both ours and adopted from across the omniverse. But at the end of the day, I'm just a guy from Georgia who won the superpowered lottery in the service of the Most High.
What does that mean?
It means you should be saying thank you to the Almighty, getting down on hands and knees, asking for repentance, and then making something of yourself. I might get you to the first option at best, knowing you.
Thank him? Why would I ever do that? After all this? My whole life? Where the hell was he the whole time?
The same places he always was, omnipresent. You were just too blind to see. It's not his fault you never tore the veil from your eyes.
I growled. Who had made similar remarks to me throughout our marriage. I didn't feel like digging those back up, so I switched tactics.
Okay.
I said.
Then if he really sent you here, then get me out of here. I did ask him to do that, didn't I?
Nathan mimicked a klaxon going off as if this were some kind of game show.
No, you asked for help.
Nathan said, smirking.
You never specified what kind.
I growled again.
Should have known semantics would matter.
Them's the rules, kid, and yes, you are a kid to me. I'm a lot older than I look. Now, ask a better question.
I paused, inside, knowing I had multiple, but choosing to focus on one for now.
What are you allowed to do for me?
Nathan grinned.
Answer what questions you actually need answered and get you to own up to who you are. Anything outside of that would break the rules placed upon me by the Big G.
Okay. So you said whatever this thing is has me in its clutches is cheating, and that means you can cheat. What rules are being broken, and how do you factor into this?
There are many eldritch entities out there, and that despise creation and wish to rule over it in their image. But they are weaker than they wish to appear. They are constrained by rules to keep them in line until the final judgment. Allowed to live in order to give them and their targets time to repent. This thing, this abomination, is under those rules. Rules it broke in order to get to you. You are not one of the ones it was called to take. Which means, since it broke the rules, I could intervene, should I choose to. That was why I met with you earlier in the gas station. Knowing its intentions beforehand, as time and causation are nothing to me, I offered you help and you rejected it, even after I offered you some further protection without your knowledge of it, which is how you got this far alive. That was to be the end of my stay here in reality until you did something counter to your usual foolishness. You cried out to God, and he told me to come here by your side, once more to offer comfort and despair. Comfort and despair? What kind of God offers that?
He smirked again, a sight I was quickly beginning to hate.
One that loves you deeply, even though you don't love him.
I scoffed and huffed.
Loving God, huh? In this world? What a load of crap. He sits up there on his iron throne and judges all for being inferior to him while he allows genocides, murders, plagues, and more. He's worthless to me.
Alone, kid. What God allows and what he approves of are two very different things. If I were you, I'd be praising his holy name for allowing you time to repent rather than just striking you down justly for your first offense against a holy and pure God who cannot abide in the presence of sin. And that same God offered a way out that he did not have to do for his creations that he loves. I know that's what I'd do, given who I was before he helped me out.
I growled. I'd gotten distracted again. I can't afford to do that much longer. For now, Nathan was on my side, but I couldn't stand his assuredness or smug superiority. I never bowed down to religious types before, and I didn't plan on starting now, even with all that had happened.
To hell with him!
I yelled.
What about my people? Where was God when his people were killing us?
Nathan raised an amused eyebrow.
Yes,
He said.
Christians did exactly what you said, but that neither disqualifies the actual truths taught in Scripture, nor does it reflect God's character poorly when imperfect servants act imperfectly. It merely reflects broken, sinful people, a full image of themselves that already know to be true. The real followers of God repent and love even after failing and causing harm to others. But you don't care about that, do you? You never once legitimately cared about the colonial fates of your ancestors, or even the lives of those on the reservation today, because then you'd have to show empathy, which you severely lack, like all other fools across the world. You merely speak hollow words that mean nothing to you, so that you can justify sin, why you don't need to repent. But take comfort in the midst of your self-inflicted damnation. You're still alive, which means there's time to learn and change. If you die, then, well, God will honor your choices, because that's what you wanted, seeing as you never wanted to there in his presence to begin with, and only a hateful, evil, spiteful God would force you to be with him for eternity when you never loved him.
Well, I didn't choose to be here like this, so get off your high horse and save me.
No, I don't think I will. Not like this.
Why not?
Why is a question that... Okay. This is losing me pretty quick. There's a lot of plot dumping, and it feels like I'm being preached to.
You're doing great.
It's not like it feels like I'm reading sermons, which is a fine, I guess, coming from an angel. But like, if I don't know. That's it. Why is a question that is always deeper than its answer? Only a teacher who knows the answer to the question should ask why in order to foster learning in their students. Instead, in order to truly gain knowledge, one should know only a child would ask why like you did, while the true seeker of knowledge would ask the who, what, when, where, and how of it all before demeaning themselves by asking the why.
I felt a vein burst in my head.
Oh, so now he's a pseudo-philosopher as well as a religious radical in addition to being a fool.
It's a character flaw. Like insisting on not getting people out of situations where they're supposed to be learning a lesson. What would you learn if I took you out of here, kid? That God doesn't want you to grow as long as you just ask for help? You'll never have to lift a finger or work a day in your life in this broken world. Now, who's the fool?
I shook my head.
Whatever. Tell me everything else I'm supposed to know, so I can get the hell out of here.
As you wish. It's your life. For as long as that'll matter, depending on your choices.
He paused and shrugged.
You are currently trapped inside an abomination that desires greatly to end your mark on history against the natural flow of time and the narrative flow of existence. I protect both to make sure time and stories meet their true ends. You are meant to take another road home, one where Escude would have no hold on you.
The what?
The what?
Here we go again. Okay. Another 7-paragraph essay. Escude, the particular abomination here that trapped you, though. I'm not surprised you don't know what it is, and for once in this pathetic thing you call life, this is your fault. Whew, that's a run-on. Run-on sentence. Throw a comment there. Save my breath. Okay. If you have researched the legends of the Penobscot tribe, and fewer still would recognize that the Escude, as it was originally known to your people, as no one survived to pass that tale down, given the many that died from the introduction of measles and smallpox by the settlers they quarreled with until they could fight back no more. It tracks down forlorn people, tricks them into getting off the right path, and then consumes them while offering them their most precious desires to the point where they die before realizing there's no escape.
To any who studied your folklore today, they would know the term.
Oh wait, is this still him?
I think so.
Why did they do another quotation?
I don't know.
It's okay.
It could be.
To any who studied your folklore today, they would seem to know the term escude, but see it merely as a fury will-o'-the-wisp, which is how it prefers things, as no one from your time would be able to know its weaknesses. But I do, and to keep matters simple, I will tell you that you can't beat it. I won't kill it today, but that there's a way out of here. This abomination may have been spawned like so many of its kind after the effects of the fall warped creation. But it has an end, and is nothing next to the power of the Almighty. Even if it thinks it can win in the end. But it also knows who and what I am, and that is why it is so angry, because it knows judgment has been passed upon it, and even if it survives this encounter, it will grow even weaker than it already is.
He smirked and looked off in the distance.
Isn't that right, freak?
Escudaid.
I shuddered as the rumbling voice erupted from throughout the illusory cave, and I felt the ripples of the sound reverberating in my ears as if they were eternally captured there. I held up my hands to my ears and bit my lip, drawing blood when the rumbling continued. However, I sensed a warm, healing light forcing these reverberations out. I opened my eyes to see Nathan's hands glowing with a pure power I'd never witnessed before. But that was all he did. I scoffed when I realized that he knew that I knew that I had expected him to heal more than just the pain from that one attack. I'd expected him to get rid of all of it, and, even better, get me the hell out of here. I was moving better, but I was still heavily scarred by the acid, looking more mummy than man, and I still had no idea how to escape this place.
You want to get out of here?
Nathan asked, amused, as he once more read my thoughts without effort.
Then own up to the man you are by acting like the man you are, because you are no changed man. Not yet, or maybe ever, depending on your choices. If you want to leave this Sithonic hellhole alive, then be honest to the sinner you are. Embrace the evil actions you chose to do of your own free will, and act them out perfectly. Otherwise, you'll never change, and you'll be stuck here until this abomination sucks you dry, slower than a sarlacc. It can only hurt you when you stop being truthful to the man you are. But accepting the truth makes you bile to it. So this should be the easiest job of all time, Lilone. All you have to do is be yourself, if you want to get out of here alive.
He looked down on me, his sunglasses moving down just enough to allow me to see his hazel eyes, cascading with pure silver and white energy. His eyes narrowed, and I felt heavenly wrath upon me.
But I swear this to you, Lilone, as the scourging hand of God, that if you leave here and go back home and end up as an unrepentant recidivist, then I will personally drag you back and leave you here to rot and dissolve in agony until Judgment Day.
I had felt fear multiple times that night, afraid of that I would die, be forgotten, or never spoken of again. I'd stared down demonic dogs, a devil straight from hell, and now an abomination that wanted to make me suffer for eternity. But nothing scared me more than that night, than the look in Nathan's eyes. He'd meant every single word. What was the use of fearing beings that could only kill me, while he could do what he promised and more to make me suffer for my sins? I wanted to have a clever comeback and put him in his place, but nothing I conjured up was worth much of anything. So I fumbled my words and said, just to try to say something back.
So what? You threaten me and want me to change?
I laughed. I asked, laughing mirthlessly.
You probably think this whole thing will make me a Christian, too.
Nathan threw back his head in raucous laughter.
You think you're going to become a Christian?
He asked, cackling.
Simply because you had one spiritual experience where you were forced to confront yourself? Oh, the sheer hubris of it all. No, Lalone, this isn't gonna make you a Christian. That requires faith, love, submission, and genuine repentance, which you simply don't have. You're as much of an unrepentant viper as your average Pharisee.
He stopped laughing and glared at me for my foolishness.
You think any of this is about you. You're no one. You have been living half a life for decades. No, it's because you are still of use to the Almighty, who will use you and the free choices you make down the road to make this world a better place despite your influence. You're gonna do what you do best and screw around, and you'll just be just as fertile as before. There will be another baby boy, one who becomes a better man than his father. He's gonna do things in this world that creatures like this hate, because it makes them weaker with every passing day. When a man lives by righteousness and faith and all this despite the circumstances of his birth, because he will recognize the good will and love of God and submit to his authority of his own free will, that is, if you make it out of here alive by going forward to Escude and confronting yourself.
I flinched. I didn't pretend to like Nathan, but he had never struck me as the kind of person who would lie to my face in order to motivate me. He had called me out for the weak, sinful fool I was, and even though he took sort of sick satisfaction from it all, he had never hurt me or misled me as far as I was aware. I believed him when he said I was going to be a daddy again. I believed him when he said I was going to be responsible for watching over my new son. Did that mean her and I reconnected and reconciled? Had to be. I couldn't hurt her again by being with Tahi. I didn't want to hurt either one of them. Either one again. As slim as the chances were, I had been given a second chance. To hell with the God that had given it to me, because I would never fall under his rule, but it meant getting what I wanted back. Then I could be that kind of man. Imperfect, flawed, but one who was working to be better than he was before. I would take it, but a lingering thought made me pause in fear.
Nathan, even if I get out of here, that other thing is still there on the road with the dogs.
I said, fear growing in my heart with each word I uttered.
It'll just come after me again.
Nathan huffed.
It had its attempt to get you,
he said nonchalantly.
The second to fall will never touch you or your family ever again. It failed. It and its minions know this is now, and even in their continued rebellion, they know I'm here watching out for them to dare to try something else. It will focus its fruitless efforts elsewhere, and you will be the furthest thing from its bent mind.
What is it? Another abomination?
Not your concern, is what it is. You've already learned enough to write out the rest of this story to keep it on track. Any more wouldn't help you.
I nodded. Even though my curiosity and fear wasn't completely sated, I knew enough of Nathan from our brief time together that if he didn't believe it was relevant, then I didn't need to know. I looked ahead to the further darkness of the cave and braced myself for what was to come.
Will you be with me as I face what's ahead?
I asked, not even looking at him.
No, because you don't need me there,
Nathan said as I caught the bright light of him teleporting away in my peripheral.
Alone. Just be yourself. You'll make it out of here.
I felt a tear leave my right eye, and I nodded. Biting my lip, I stepped forward as swirls of rose petals traveled in front of me, landing on the cave's floor tenderly as I followed the path, even as it grew even narrower. The cave was far more organic in appearance now, as tubes of unknown matter hung from the ceiling, where I saw brief pulsations of what appeared to be memories of those who had walked before me traveling through them. The screams of the dead and dying registered harshly in my ears, but I did my best to ignore them. I wouldn't be falling for this psychological warfare anymore. Escude wanted me to flee and trap myself even further. I couldn't trust in anything but myself. That was the curse God had given me. If I wanted to get out of here alive, Soon I was on my hands and knees, squeezing through the tight contours of the cave as it grew narrower and harder to move. I had never been a spelunker before, and now I was beginning to remember why. The dark, damp environment was not conducive to my continued existence, and yet here I was, fighting it so I could live. I grunted with effort as I bit through a clump of the tubes that had tried to block my passage. Cries of past victims filled the air as I did my best to ignore the agonies they'd suffer from their failed attempts to leave SQD behind. These negative past emotions swirled over me, and I bent my lip hard enough to draw what little blood was left in my body in order to disregard them further. The tubes wriggled like worms and spasmed out of my path, and I spit out what I had torn from them in my mouth, continuing further forward in the darkness. With immense effort, I forced my left shoulder through a new, even more narrow passage, feeling bones start to break as I almost mindlessly pressed onward. I could feel the passage try to constrict me, but the more I resisted, the more it slightly opened. Light appeared ahead of me, and I was almost blinded, but I forced my eyes to adjust to the sight. The path to victory was only 20 feet ahead of me. I cried out in defiance and dug my nails through the organic matter that had sought to consume me, piercing it to make the abomination wail in despair at the pain it was so unused to feeling. I could feel its fury upon me, and I laughed at it. It had tried to break me, but I was too stupid and stubborn to stop now that I knew how I could get out of here alive, even as more tears welled up on my face. SQD tried one last time to prevent my escape into the light. I felt it further constrict itself around my already cramped body. My weary muscles tightened, and my bones were closer to snapping than before. But I pressed forward, inch by inch, biting savagely at anything that got in my path. It tasted awful, whatever passed for blood in the beast's body, but the thoughts of hurting it made me feel a whole lot better. So I gnashed and gnashed until my head was able to make it out of the cave passage. I couldn't see in the blinding light of whatever it had taken me, but I didn't care. Kept moving forward, snapping my shoulders out of place as I weirdly brought my arms out of the passage. I cried out once more in defiance, using my broken hands to push myself out of its clutches, finally falling down with my whole body free moments later. I wheezed and felt something cold on my face. My tongue twitched in my mouth and involuntarily touched the cold object, which moved away and chilled my tongue in an almost pleasant way. Opening my eyes, I saw that I had fallen into the snow. I felt even more tears fall down my face, and I realized where my travels had taken me. I ignored the pain and anguish. I pushed myself back up, feeling as if my entire body would be torn in multiple spots as I did. But I yelled out in fury and stood up, laughing upwards at the sky of the winter day around me. Movement to my right alerted me to what I feared most, and I forlornly moved my face to see Jack jumping up and down excitedly beside me. His coat was smaller than he should have had on, and there were multiple patches his mother had sewn into it to make sure he could keep using it, as it was all we could afford for him. He pointed up to the almost frozen lake and tried to say the word snake, just as he had all those years ago. Jack's eyes lit up, and he hurriedly sped off toward the lake. I closed my eyes for a moment and tried to recall as much as I could from the day. It didn't take long for me to get in character. It was, after all, the easiest thing I'd ever done in my life. This was all happening just after I had said the most horrible thing a father could say that had led to his death, and I let out thanks to the ether for the briefest of moments that I hadn't been forced to say it again. Instead, I grabbed a beer from my coat pocket, as I had all those years ago, clicking the tab open so I could chug it down. My vision grew hazy as my body and mind merged to become one with the past. I had drunk too much that day, and I knew I wasn't being responsible, but I had done it anyways. Maybe if I was too drunk, something would happen to Jack, and I wouldn't have to worry about caring for him anymore. Remembering the thought almost broke me as I took another sip of the beer. I wanted more than anything to throw the can down and rush after my boy. But when I looked down and saw the barest hints of acid moving along above the snow, I denied myself in order to act against myself. There was a splash and my body panicked, just as just as it had on the day that I didn't move yet, almost failing to keep upright as the world swirled around me in my drunken haze. I looked over to where Jack had been and saw the ripples moving outward from where he had fallen, or as I now suspected had been dragged down into the water. Time proceeded as it had done so normally that day. My body still eventually run forward, but not in time enough to do anything to save Jack. I'd wanted to save him that day, to dive into the water so that I could drag him to safety and warm him up before hypothermia could kill him. But I know what actually happened, and I stumbled to my right and fell down into the snow as the acid started receding away from me. I watched the water as my head shook from the fall, and the realization I had that day hit further now that I was experiencing it twice, and I forced myself to get back up and run to where Jack had fallen. With my broken vision, I could see the spot where he had been, and the desire to jump in and find him almost made me act against myself, but I didn't. Instead, I watched the golden eyes of the horned serpent that had stolen my son from my descent into the darkness once more. I fell to my knees and I gazed down at the water, torment rushing through me. Had I been selfish for not wanting to dive in freezing waters to grab him for the first time? I hadn't seen him and couldn't know for sure where he'd be. Besides, I was too drunk to locate him without me drowning myself, but I knew what those words were just as much as I did that day. Excuses. I was a cruel man and father who had justified leaving my son to drown just as I wouldn't have to be burdened with caring for him again. I hadn't wanted him to die, but this was a perfect opportunity to get what I wanted so badly. I wanted to cry, but I strained my eyes to stop the tears from flowing so that I couldn't afford to cry now that I was sorrowful for my behavior. That wasn't who I was that day. It wasn't who I was now, simply because I placed myself here with my own actions. There was change growing slowly in my heart, but I had to deny it and embrace my truest self if I ever wanted to deal with the repercussions of actually wanting to be a better man, if I made it out of here alive. It was at that time that a long, almost tree-like tail burst forth from the water and smacked me down mightily into the snow behind me. I gasped for air as I heard a jingling from my right. I looked over and watched as the keys to my truck had been taken from my pocket by the force of the blow, and that they are now flying towards the spot where Jack was drowning in the clutches of the horned serpent. The keys splashed in the water, sinking into the icy depths. I picked myself up, rushed forward, knowing that if I got out of here alive, I needed to get them off of Angler Road and back home, but before I could make it there, I stopped, realizing that I had almost fallen for the trap. Placing the keys there in the water besides Jack would make me want to go after him more and more, even if I choose the keys over him. Then I was right next to the creature that had stolen him from me, and I didn't know what it would do if I failed the test. I didn't pretend to underestimate the cosmic rules that had allowed these infernal creatures to attack me, but not kill me unless I failed certain tests. Nor did I understand how a man like Nathan was allowed to help me in one way and not another. But I did know that I wasn't going to be a sucker for the snake's machinations.
Something like that.
So instead of seeking salvation for myself, I stood in silence, reaching for a new beer in my coat pocket, popping the tab and taking another long sip, just as I had when I knew Jack was beyond my reach all those years ago. Now that I was sure he was dead, I couldn't do anything to stop the tears as they ran down my face. The taste of the beer turned to bile in my throat, but I took sip after sip until it was gone and the golden eyes from the lake had disappeared from the sight again. I threw the finished beer can into the water, and I heard a loud, furious hissing from beneath the water. I knew I had passed another test. Before I had a moment to deal with what I'd just gone through, the area around me swirled, and I was surrounded by a vortex of chaotic energy, and then met with the specters of Hurrit, Jack, and Taki as they glided around me as I replayed memories of how I had treated them all. I didn't know if I would make it through what I was desperately hoping was the final gauntlet of this trip, but I had a job to do even if it wasn't. I stilled myself again, and I repeated every terrible proclamation I had ever offered them, having replayed those words over and over in my head endlessly, even a decade after they'd last been spoken.
You ain't worth nothing, woman.
I yelled at Hurrit.
You're just a pathetic girl who's angry to find out that her man's just as bad as everyone else's. Now get up off the floor, Make yourself useful and get me some beer from the store before I beat you for a second time.
The specter of Hret cried out in despair as she disappeared from sight. I turned to gaze at Taki's Wraith next.
You were always the ugly one, thinking you could have ever me forever.
I said, growling at her.
Your sister's fine ass can take a better pounding than you any time. Maybe we should test that out and I could have you both back to back. Maybe you'd be worth something then. Ah, don't give me that look. It only makes you look uglier. Now, turn around so I don't have to look you in the face.
Taki's Wraith gasped and turned her head away from mine as she too withered away to nothing. Turning to my left, I looked down at the ghost of Jack and forced my tears away again. No, I couldn't do this part. I'd been spared the first time when I had just been forced to watch him die again. I didn't want to repeat the words I said, but I knew I had to. If I didn't, then Escude would win and I would never give it the satisfaction.
Boy, you want to do Daddy a favor?
I asked, glaring at Jack.
Where is this going?
Get out of here and never come back. You know how much of a burden you are? You know how much money I have to spend on you because your head is as stupid as the face you make whenever you look at me? Now get out of my sight and run away for all I care. Might find a snake in the lake if you try hard enough.
I had often wondered whether Jack had ever understood anything I said to him, but now, as I saw the ghost look forlorn at my words, I knew that he had known right before he had died that the last thing his daddy had ever said to him was something no son should ever hear from his father. His ghost reached out to me, and I resisted the urge to touch him, knowing that this would fail the test, and he moaned wildly and evaporated into the vortex. In response, I fell to my knees once more and wailed. It was immensely cruel to be forced to say these things again, but it was also the truth. I had done all of this and so much more. I deserved to relive these moments for eternity in hell. For how I hurt those who had done me no wrong. They weren't perfect either, and I would need to stand before judgment on their own time, but it wasn't my job to project my inadequacies on them. To do so would only prove that I hadn't learned anything. Rumbling circulation throughout the area, and the wintry day was being torn away as I felt the abomination writhe in pain. I had never encountered someone so willing to be themselves that they would deny the pleasures it offered them before its long life, or at least that was the sense I got as the world around me shook violently. I couldn't even pretend to be proud of the pain I was causing it, because I knew we were both wicked creatures who deserved everything we were going through at the time. I could barely stand as Escude trembled, and the world around me revealed its true form, and I saw the inside of whatever passed for its gastrointestinal system. Skeletons and not yet dead bodies of past victims were strewn across the beast's stomach. I saw carriages and skeletal remains of horses among their number. The close to death cried out in sorrow at failing their tests, and their wails seemed as if they would never end. I had no idea how many people this freak of nature had consumed, but I knew that it was one less that I had hoped for. Even though it felt as we both died together, I felt no way out, but a part of me was okay with this. Maybe I hadn't been good enough of rejecting the entity's traps, but at least I was taking it with me. We could die like the leeches we were before we could hurt another human being. I felt a strange sense of regret that I wouldn't make it back to Hret and have another boy with her, but Nathan had never promised I would make it out of here alive. He'd done everything he was supposed to. He never promised to help me escape, so I had no one to blame but myself, which, oddly enough, I was coming to terms with quite well. I stepped backwards and flipped Escude off with both hands, cackling madly and closing my eyes, prepared for death with a peace that surpassed understanding. It was then that a kind hand grasped my shoulder and relief poured over my heart, as I had felt my sufferings being exorcised, but not forgotten. I opened my eyes and I saw Nathan smiling pleasantly at me, and he produced a brilliant silver sword from its sheath. And I witnessed the phrases,
Take me up,
and
cast me away.
emblazoned on it. Nathan had then pointed the sword forward, crafting a beam of the purest white light that produced a doorway ahead of us. He took his hands off my shoulder and extended it out to me. Without hesitation, I reached out for it and allowed him to lead me forward as we ran to the doorway, leaving Escute behind. The doorway brought us into the forest, and I looked up to see the sky had returned and the summer's light was still warding off the darkness for another hour at least. I held a hand up to my face and realized that my skin had been restored, but by Nathan's touch, except for one spot on my right knuckle. I took the lesson to heart, vowing to never use it again in anger. If this was the only scar that remained, that I could live with that. Because I knew I deserved far worse. Nathan looked ahead, smirking as I felt another rumbling around us. Trees suddenly shot up in the sky, and an immense figure writhed. I don't know why I can't remember that word.
It's okay.
Writhed around in purest agony with the dust it stirred up surrounding it. I couldn't make it out at first, but I had finally given the chance that when a roar went out in every direction, dispersing the displaced trees and dust. For the briefest of moments, I caught a glimpse of Ecude's true form. I watched as an ethereal entity looking like the bastard child of a snake, slug, and anglerfish thrashed about in agony, letting out guttural noises that once more rippled through my body fiercely. It was ghostly white, and I could see through it, almost as if it was barely able to tether itself to reality. Scales and fins topped by eyes like the two that had lured me there in the first place, surrounded the beast's body as it slowly moved upward, and finally, in an ungraceful whirl of movement, it descended backward like a worm into the depths of the earth, cursing in some tongue alien to human ears at what had befallen it. I smiled and turned to look over at Nathan, only to realize that he wasn't there anymore. His part in my story over, so long as I never strayed from where he'd warned me to avoid. It was an odd feeling, knowing he wasn't there anymore. I wouldn't exactly call us friends, but he had done more for me in the span of several hours than I had done for anyone in my life. A brief flash of light to my side alerted me to his final message. I turned to look down to my right, seeing that my keys had been left behind in a small bed of silver red rose petals in the form of a heart. I reached down and grabbed them. Warmth filled my body when I made contact with those rose petals before I could fully grasp my keys.
Thank you, Nathan,
I said, starting to walk away before I stopped myself from making a final grievous error. I looked upward to the heavens.
Thank you, God.
I laughed silently to myself. The divine manipulator had gotten me to say it to him after all. Well, I suppose he does work in ways we could never understand. To this day, still don't. But I'm okay with not knowing the greater mysteries of life or signing up for church at the moment. When I finally got back to the truck, it was truly nighttime. Found it in a perfect working order, well, as perfect as ever it's gonna be. Placed the key in the ignition and turned it on, which it did instantly. Smiled and went up Engler Road, knowing that whatever lay ahead of me was nothing compared to what I'd gone through on this lonely road. I knew certain things about the future, and I also knew how to change them for the better. Nothing was going to stop me from being the man I knew I could be now. At least, all me. I left Engler Road for good that night, and I've never seen it on any map since. But now, looking back on it, almost 30 years later, I can tell you I know it exists, and Ecude still controls it. It's much weaker now, but that doesn't mean it can't go after you. So if you see anything or meet anyone who wishes you to go down that way, you can't blame me, because I told you to beware of the lights on Engler Road.
And that was Beware the Lights on Engler Road by Christian. Okay. You want to give your thoughts first?
Okay, hold on. This is what I was going to say. I think you could 100% feel the emotion the guy had of, first off, no one liked him. You could feel that. It was like, oh, 100%. We're not supposed to like this guy.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be a douchebag.
He's supposed to be a piece of shit.
But then it's like, okay, he's now supposed to get an opportunity to not relive or not redo the life he already has done, but to take those lessons and to move on from them. I like that lesson. I do. I think that's a great thing.
Mm-hmm.
I will say there's a few parts, for me personally, where I felt like it was trudging on. There's a few parts, again, these are like very small things. There's just a few parts where it just felt like it was going, like, you added the fluff that, okay, I was like, okay, we needed that. But then instead of just, like, keeping the fluff, you added, like, 2 extra fluffinesses. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, it was like, oh, that fluff is great for, like, you know, cozy story, to a, okay, this pillow's kind of hard to sleep on now in certain aspects. But again, I think it, at the same time, I think it works. I don't think it's horrible.
There are parts in this story, I think the biggest example was when Nathan was talking to our narrator and basically plot dumping for the whole preaching, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which, it's okay, it's an angel, so it's within the angel's character to preach the gospel according to the truth, right? According to the truth of God. So it felt right when I got to thinking about it. But as a reader, it was just so much, and this is how this works, and this is how this works.
There's a lot of explanation.
These are the inner workings of the kingdom of heaven, and it's like, I can appreciate it if it was spaced out a little bit more with dialogue, instead of just one massive dialogue statement, which is okay. But I mean, when you're building it up to basically explain to us as readers what everything is, what is what, I have a hard time with the constant just plot dumping. But I think once we got past that, the story picked up. It was smooth. I really enjoyed it. I was really concerned there you did a little bait and switch for me, because I was like, oh, cool. I love the idea of having to go back and accept you're a terrible person pretty much and go through every mistake you've made. What I was kind of hoping to see was him go back to the dinner scene with his family, and him have to just beat the shit out of him or treat him like shit or like admit to cheating or whatever the case may be. I was really hoping for something along those lines, but what we got in retrospect was still just as good. So I think the dialogue felt choppy in some places, but relatively natural.
It could have been my fault, though. I did
No,
in certain aspects.
No. Just the way it was written. There's a lot of grammar mistakes which made for a choppier reading. However, I will contend, and I will go to bat for this guy, our homeboy Christian, because I loved the storyline. The idea was really fun. And I think if he cleaned this up, this would be a 5. And this would be a good 5. Like, probably one of the best ones we've read. What I would like to see him do is go through, find the grammar mistakes, close those up, fix them up, and once you get those fixed up, then what I want is clean up the dialogue a little bit. Space it out. We don't need to know everything all at once. Like, if you wanted to space it out as he's going through trials and tribulations, you know, he goes to see his son die, he starts asking questions like, what the fuck is happening? Why can't I say this? You know, like, and then Nathan has to kind of explain it to him during the whole watching his son die scene. However, I understand why you did it in the fashion you did, so I'm not going to fault you for it.
So what would you rank it?
I would be so bold as to give it a 4. I don't think grammar-wise we're on the level of 5. And I think there's some parts of the narrative that we can kind of clean up a little bit, which would make this just fucking send the message and leave no trace, leave no prisoners. It would be beautifully done. So I'm going to confidently give it a 4. I think this is a good example of a 4.
Okay.
What about you?
I really enjoyed it. It started off really good. I thought so. I did. I thought it was really good. I think it was fun to see the contradiction on hating the main character versus like wanting him to actually like change his life and being, that way. And then also being like so like mixed with like the feelings of his own culture and stuff. I think that was a really cool play on that.
Yeah.
To add. For me, I think where I started falling short was, again, where CW was saying how once we kind of got into the longer explanations, it got a little tricky for me to keep going.
Yes.
So with that, I was going to say a 3, but a high 3.
Okay.
But again, I don't think this is the hard part, because I don't necessarily think I think some might love the option of having the long explanation and some might not.
That's why
right?
That's why I'm not faulting it.
So that's the hard part for me with a few like grammar stuff. Again, that I also read it kind of silly, so I'm sorry. I'm really bad at pronouncing names, or words, so I'm so sorry. But I really tried. There's a few grammar mistakes. I was gonna say 3, but with the explanations, because again, I might be, this is my own opinion, I might be a little too harsh on that. So with that being said, I'm gonna say a 4, because I would love to see it polished up a little bit more. But overall, I think the concept of your story was great.
Yeah.
I think the idea of him, first off, the moral aspect, I think was great. I got the feeling that, or at least what I thought he was portraying, I felt like we were all understanding that. So because of that, I want to give it higher, right? The only thing that I'm having that problem with is just like kind of CW said, was just more of the, for me personally, I call it the fluff. The added fluff felt like it was dragging on into the story, where I was just like, it felt like we kept going back and forth between the same thing. So anyways, I really liked it. Overall, I think it was good. I would say 4. Because again, it could just be my opinion with the lengthy thing. Do we have anything else to let them know today?
No, I think that's all.
Sweet. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. So that was a really long one. I hope you guys enjoyed. Almost 3 hours.
Yeah, almost 3 hours long.
So, anyways, with that being said,
You've
been
scaled.
peace.
Deuces.